G'day and welcome to Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today we're joined by Algared. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Execute. Share the screen.
Oh, I gotta share the screen, do I? My bad, sorry. Very
That's okay.
unprofessional with me. I got everything else done. Come on, I'm in a hurry. Alright. There you go. Share
Because we
for you.
changed. It's because we had to change channel for the the recording.
Yeah, and I'm not quite awake yet either.
No.
Having a great sleep until someone woke me up with a phone call. That's my least
Yeah, well,
favorite way to wake
usually
up.
it's you sending me the calls to check that I'm ready. So I was surprised that you weren't up. So that's right. Got to get you back occasionally.
Get me back. Yeah, I get it. All right. Got to start the bot, and then we are good.
Or the other thing is, what are friends for?
Yes, that's true. But yeah, I got my cast off yesterday, so I've actually got my arm back now, which is good. I can actually play games again. I haven't been able to do anything, so it was a bit boring for a while.
So he's no longer dying of boredom. I think that's what he's really trying to tell us.
Yeah. Bit of a I got to give a shout out to SA too. He's just had his child this morning. Him and his wife have a new baby. So congrats to SA as a part of our community. I'm very happy for you, mate.
Your voice is cutting in and out.
Oh, is
from
it?
my end, X. Yep.
Oh, okay. I'll move the mic a little closer then. How about that? It's probably just yeah, if I kick this.
So you have to do a shout out to SA because
he just had a new child this morning. So good congratulations to him and his family as part of our community.
Awesome. Do have to do a shout out to him then. Welcome to another round of sleepless nights and dirty diapers.
Yeah, he's used to it at this point. He's telling me it's easy. That's what he said, easy. But they have quite. I'm not going to say how many, but they've got quite a few kids. So I do believe him at this juncture. So yeah, congrats again.
I am told that it does get easier as time goes on, but
yeah,
I find that hard to believe.
So we do have an ISC to look at today.
We do have an ISC to look at.
And I guess we're going to talk about what happened at the bar citizen as well, because that was a bit good. I did have a quick look at some of the footage. There's a lot of background noise because, obviously how it was. So I'm not sure how it's going to go with that, but we'll see. Oh, we've also got some people, Black Dream Hunk, how you doing? On Twitch as well. So we've got people on Twitch and on YouTube. So good to see you guys. Yeah. So thank you for understanding why I was in hospital for 5 days. It was and
it wasn't that Execute got himself into a brawl either, So
no. Yeah.
There was no wild brawl between Execute and I. It was
Yeah. Long story short, so the whole week before I went to Sydney, I actually slept on my arm, and it caused it to get strained. And I just put it in a brace. Because I thought, you go to the chemist and you can buy those little strap things for your hand or whatever. I brought one of those, and it didn't really get any better. And then when I got up to Sydney, it actually got a lot worse. During the bar system, I used it quite a bit because I just had no choice because, push through. And then
by the end of the night, you had it in. Well, but that day you'd actually been in the hospital most of the day, hadn't you?
No.
Most of the day.
No. That was the next day. But yeah, I had a sling that I'd been keeping it in, so I put it back in the sling after we'd finished at the bar citizen. But yeah, it just got so much worse the next day. I did try to go to some. I got to some hospitals and stuff, and they basically, in short, told me I might as well go home because they were just going to do tests and they'll take a couple of days to come in anyway. So yeah, I just waited till I got home because I'm very lucky where I live. We have a very, very, very good hospital here. It does take some time to get in, but once you get in, it's really good. And it took me, I got there at 8 a.m. in the morning and I actually didn't get in to 8:30 at night. So it did actually take like 12 and a half hours to get in. So it's kind of lengthy. But then, as I said, I was there for 5 days. Met some good people, really nice nurses and doctors, all really good to chat to. And I expect nothing less of where I live. So yeah. No internet though, but yeah, as I said, good people to talk to. So it was kind of a little break from my normal life of living on the internet, so to speak. So yeah, it was just kind of good to get. I probably needed
to engage with real people.
I kind of needed it. I think in a way, it gave me a bit of a recharge. So and it forced me just to lie in bed for 5 days. So I kind of needed it. I think in a weird way.
Yeah. Hello, bad motherfunker. Glad to see you. Same with you, Okie Smokey, and Nomad, and Ted,
Yeah,
and
Voodoo's there as well.
Lovely to see you guys. Great to see some of our Patreons and joining us here, and also good to see you. And he did sleep, I do believe he did sleep. I had to wake him up, so he did sleep at least today.
Yeah, I did. I think the other thing, well, knowing this live stream, 3.17.2 is going to drop right here, because that's what happens to us. It's happened, I think we had the last one drop during this live stream as well, so...
I think we also had there are a couple of times we started waiting for the Inside Star Citizen, and then it's dropped halfway through our stream as well, so...
Yeah.
Clearly they're waiting for us to start streaming just so they can go, ha!
Convenient timing.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really miss much in SC news. The only thing I was, I remember they've upped the numbers, basically. They've doubled the number of the server size, and that's about it, so yeah. Yeah. They still don't quite know what happened to my hand, because they're not sure why it got infected or anything like that, so... And they'd never seen anything like it too, the nurses and the doctors and stuff, so yeah, someone sleeping on their hand, but yeah, it was a bit strange, but the impossible happens to me, quite frankly, quite a lot, so yeah, I hear that a lot from my doctor, like, that shouldn't be possible. Anyway. Yeah, so I guess we'll, you want to kick it off over to ISC?
Yep, and don't forget to do whatever you do
with the screen.
So I don't have to.
Yep. Alright, so I gotta swap the screen over for Algared, otherwise he can't see.
Well, I can say it's just a matter of it having echo and being 5 seconds behind you.
Yes. Give me a second. Find the right one. This one here. Here you go. Alrighty. Alright, now I got a feeling, just from the title, this is a lot about the Centurion that we saw coming like weeks away, but alright, here we go.
Recently, I did an update in our PU meeting to show off some of the work I've been doing on the new...
Can you see that? Oh, it's snow. I thought there was some kind of filter effect on the screen, like there was some kind of distortion, but I think it's snow going across the screen.
Automatic river
I
placement.
think there was that distortion.
No, it's snow.
Which is going to allow our artists to populate
snow.
entire planets with water systems in a very simple process. And Jared saw it and asked me if I could present it again for an Inside Star Citizen episode. So, here we are. It's time to look at automatic river placement. The first big improvement I've made to the river placement tool is an overhaul of the UI. I've split up all of the stuff it can do into separate tabs. So we have the manual river placement here, the automatic river placement, a view of all of the rivers currently on the planet. We'll visit this again later. View, which is how we can enable or disable various debug view modes, and debug tools, which is just a collection of various other things that I sometimes use to make sure that my tools are working properly. If we go over to create river, the next biggest improvement I've done is river prediction. What the river prediction does is it has a look at kind of the rough direction water would travel if you were to place a river under the mouse.
Oh, that's
cool. What this allows us to do is look at the general direction of the height maps, the general shape of the watershed, and roughly how long a river will be.
That's really cool.
As you can see, as I move my mouse across the planet, we can see different positions are more effective than others, and different positions lead to longer or shorter rivers. This is microtech, so there's no oceans to flow into, but the aim would be on Hurston, for example, most of our rivers should either be finishing in the ocean or large lakes or basins. What the prediction doesn't do is take into account the intricacies of the terrain that may prevent a river from actually spawning that location. So this is used as an indication of where the river might go, and then our more in detailed erosion algorithm can work out whether the river actually goes there. I'm going to attempt to manually place a river here. I'm going to click. As you can see, we've now got a set of nodes.
Tiny as. Oh,
and this part of the process hasn't changed. So I'll still go down to the river, click on any of the nodes, and I will click place river.
There we go.
And boom, we've got our river. I can then hide the debug nodes.
Automatically added the trees and
And the
vegetation
river is
on the
there in
side
the world.
too. Yeah, nice.
As simple
Well,
as
that's
that.
something he'd
But
already
actually-
had from last time.
Yeah, it was.
We're wanting something a little more complex than that. We're wanting entire water systems across the entire planet. And that's what the auto river placement tab is for. The automatic river placement is split up into 4 steps. The first step is the gather. This looks for positions where we have a rough idea that there will be a river that fulfills certain criteria. And we use the prediction that we saw a moment ago to do this. We can change various settings, such as the target river quantity, the min macro steps, which is the number of those large steps we saw a moment ago for the river to be considered, and the number of attempts of positions it will do while trying to find these. In this example, I'm just going to try and find 5 rivers across the planet, and I'm going to say each of them needs to have at least 9 macro steps, so we're talking about pretty long rivers. We can also select which biomes we want the rivers to be able to flow through. In this case, I've selected all of them apart from the snowy ones. So when I'm happy with my settings, I will click Gather River Proposals, and the computer will take a moment over finding some river proposals for us. As this is happening, you can see red circles appearing on the planet. They are all of the proposal positions that fulfill the criteria we've put so far, so they're in the correct biome, and they have the correct number of macro steps or more. It's told me that it's found 25 potential rivers.
It's a nice adjustment to the procedural method, isn't it? Like, it's
Yeah.
procedurally going to generate the rivers, but he's actually kind of having a lot of indication of where he wants to put them. So it's kind of that mix by the look of it.
Yeah, it kind of means they can kind of put in the settings kind of where they want it to do, but it's more automatic. It's a mix of the two. It speeds it up, but it kind of still keeps it slightly custom. Yeah, it's cool.
Positions, which is awesome. So the next step is to filter them. Currently, what filtering does is it makes sure that the river isn't going to flow through an outpost. It checks that the river is valid and that the water is actually flowing along the line that the prediction thought it would. And it checks that it's another minimum length. In this case, it's 40 node steps. So I'll click filter and we'll wait for the computer to do that for me. During this process, we can see that some of the red circles will start to disappear as they're discarded if they've not met the filter criteria. Right, in the end, it's actually only found 4 valid river positions, which is fine because I put in some pretty stringent criteria. So at this point, I'm going to click Create Rivers. This is going to actually place the rivers into the world, and we know that they're already going to match a certain length and other criteria that we've put in. Now that we've got 4 new created rivers, the next step would be to commit all of them. But actually, I'm going to hesitate slightly. I'm going to go across to the Rivers tab, and I'm going to filter to rivers that are uncommitted. So this is showing me all 4 rivers that have not been committed yet, which means that they are on the planet and they are present, but they haven't been saved to data. And I'm going to go to each of them and commit them manually. So first, let's sort by length. So we'll start off with our shortest river. So as we can see, this river flows through like a woodland biome, and it looks pretty nice, but it is only 5 kilometers long, as we can see here. So I'm actually going to delete this river. Next, we'll go to the next shortest river. This one is 6 kilometers long, and looks a little better to me. I think I'm going to let this one stay. Go to the next river. Yep, very happy. 11 kilometers long, so got a good length on that one. And this one is 12 kilometers long, and again, looks very similar. So yeah, of these 4 rivers, I'm happy with 3 of them, and I'm going to let them all stay. Going forward, I'm going to allow artists to specify a minimum final length in kilometers rather than just nodes. And one of the big things that I'm going to do next is spring points. What this is artists will be able to add hint positions at various points in the height maps to say, a river would look good starting here. For example, a crevice or a crack in a mountainous height map. And that's just going to mean that the quality of our automatically placed rivers is just going to be a step higher, because the start is always going to look somewhere natural rather than just starting anywhere in the middle of the field. That's kind of cool. Because at the moment it is largely random positions that it's trying and then filtering from there. That's what I've been up to.
That actually makes me wonder if they're going to make how do I put that?
Subterranean rivers?
No, kind of like well, that's another discussion, but yeah, like starting positions. You know, he's talking about.
Oh, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah. So he's talking about starting positions for rivers like natural positions, but I'm wondering if they are going to actually model some. You know, so they might make like a small pond, or they might because if you actually know what happens in the real world, this is the problem with it. I don't know if you notice this, but the river is basically the same width the whole way. Where what happens in real life is it's generally multiple streams connect, and then they start to form a river. So I almost wonder if he's going to go back from rivers to streams.
One of the very first shots that he had, it looked like there were almost streamy depressions near the river that had popped up. So I'd like to think they would have the streams coming from the spawn points of the spawn points of the river and then going back further, and it'd be also nice to see as the river gets close to the ocean or to its endpoint, but you get a delta forming. Rather than it just flowing into the ocean and ending, because we see that in our rivers as well. As they get closer to the ocean, they tend to slow down and spread out and form deltas. And so that'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right.
With the river stuff recently, in between fixing bugs for patches and stuff, I'm really happy with the progress I've been able to make on this, and it's really cool being able to show it off again. Hopefully we will be having a lot more rivers on a lot more planets coming to the verse very soon.
Like many features throughout Star Citizen's
What the fuck? It's Grug.
Grizzly Adams.
It's Grug.
No, I was thinking Grizzly Adams, but same type of idea.
continuing development, River Tech continues to evolve into a robust set of tools that will bring new life and personality to any planet or moon it's used on. And you can expect more of these estuaries to branch their course of rivulets and tributaries in the upcoming Alpha 318. But up next, a look at the newest vehicle from Anvil making its debut in 317-2, the Centurion.
Before they kick into this, what's your kind of take on them kind of just copy pasting variants with the vehicles? Because I kind of didn't ask you your opinion, so I'm just kind of curious.
It kind of flows back from the old design of a ship, where you'd have a ship and you could modify the ship to suit yourself. And then there was that, well, how do I, I've got an Aurora CL, an Aurora MR, and Aurora LN, and having to put the different parts on, and the choice between, okay, is that a ship or is that and having to model.
But long story short, though, do you think it's good or bad that they're doing it? Because I think they're doing it because they're focusing more on Squadron 42 this year. So from my perspective, because if you really break it down, you literally take the missiles off the ballista, the rack for the missiles, and you're just putting a gun on, and that's the only difference.
But that's no different from putting extra weapon hardpoints on an Aurora LN versus an Aurora MR.
Yeah, okay, but that's way back when, and we can talk about the reasons for that. But in this day and age, as in where we are in the game today, I feel like it's a bit of a how do I put this? They're trying to get Squadron 42 out. So
I would prefer if they were variants where you got modules which you click in. I don't see a difference in the way they're doing it, in the way the ships are at the moment, and the vehicle variants. I don't like it, but I see it as the same type of policy they've got. Ultimately, it just means they sell more. Is it because they're focusing more on Squadron 42? It might be, but we also know they did want more vehicles. So is it just carrying on with the stuff they wanted to do anyway, and the variants they wanted in those vehicles?
I'm thinking it's almost more so they could say they got new vehicles out without really having to get new vehicles out. Yeah,
well, it's a bit like the ships. Are there really 200 or odd ships, or is it really,
and if you
100 ships because of all the
Yeah.
the Aurora is 5 ships, the Mustang is 5 ships, you know.
I'm hoping it's just for this year and possibly next year, but I don't think it's the last Atlas platform vehicle we've seen, not by a long shot. Especially if you watch, we did an episode before I went into the hospital.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I saw that on
we-
the Centurion.
yeah, we meant to do that like 6 months ago, before when the Spartan came out, because that's when the guys talked about it, but we just got delayed. But yeah, it seems to be coming true.
And I could see, like, the Atlas platform, because of the size of that, would be, I could see that being ideal for being a flatbed tow truck. I could see it being used for a medical van. I could see it being used for other applications as well. So, is it... Would I like to see them do something else? Yeah, but can I see the different variations? Sure. You know, so, yeah.
All right, here we go.
The Anvil Centurion is the anti-air turret of ground vehicles. This is the vehicle that you pull up when something flying around above you needs to not be there. And in 3.17.2, it's going straight to drivable.
Notice how we said drivable, not flyable. But anyway.
Centurion basically is the same style of the Ballista, but instead of missiles, we are having a turret with 4 big guns.
In order to accommodate those size 4 laser repeaters, it has gained, in addition to what the Ballista has, 2 size 1 coolers, which are mounted just at the rear.
We create a new kind of hatch so that it looks, it is central, and is not slightly going on the right or slightly going on the left. This is just one. We used to have just...
So they justified the whole vehicle's existence by adding 2 extra coolers.
No, I think the extra coolers are to justify the massive weapons on it because they're too big, but by stating it's a separate vehicle rather than just a variant, probably...
It just that annoys me because it now means it's not just like a
it's not just a plug-in.
Yeah, it's not just like something. It's not like you can have the Ballista and just switch it over to this. It literally is a full standalone variant now. That annoys me because given the final game, that would be a lot better, wouldn't it? Just be able to switch between the two. Yeah.
But isn't the Ballista kind of a 2-part vehicle? It's kind of on a chassis that's, you know, with a tow bar link type thing. So
no,
the back section...
you're thinking of the Spartan.
Turrets with 2 S2 guns, 1 left and 1 right. And in this time we have an asymmetrical structure for having a symmetrical gun. In the interior, we also try to implement something that was not done in the Ballista.
Yeah.
The Spartan is on the Atlas platform.
They're all on the Atlas platform, but you're talking about, you said a trailer. The only one with a trailer is a Spartan.
Yeah,
like
but the back section, the back section, if it's on the Atlas platform, that is effectively a trailery type aspect. So you could take the back section off, and
so then from that perspective, they're all on trailers. Anyway,
the camera will show part of the guns, so that you have a better sensation of where you're actually aiming without even needing to have the center of the screen with an icon that show you where bullets are going. We have a section with all the components and one more part dedicated to the power plant.
One of the drawbacks to the Ballista is that once something gets close enough to it, it becomes that little bit less effective. However, that's not a problem for the Centurion. It can engage anything at any range, but obviously its effectiveness will drop off as things get a little further away. So having a Centurion covering a Ballista suddenly just makes the entire system work much better.
So the other thing is eventually installations will get their own turrets, you see. So this is just allows you to rapidly deploy a turret where something else isn't. I think given time, compared to the Ballista, this is going to have more of a drop-off. Because of that, but yeah.
Well, I think this is well, just like the, you know, it's a size 4 range, so it's got the same range that a hammerhead has, whereas the Ballista's goes beyond that. So something like a turret like this and a Ballista, I actually do the short range and long range. Will we have man turret? Will we have normal turrets? Yeah, because I can remember them talking about those things being, being able to be placed with a,
Well,
back when they were talking to Pioneer. But this is just the,
we've literally
mobile turrets.
we've literally been talking about in the video how in real life a lot of the things that can go on the back of I'm just going to call them trucks, right? So how this is a turret on the back of a truck, they are often manually installed on like the ground as well. So things like J-Whizzes and stuff like that. So if they're getting that as free stuff and all they have to do is manually install it on the ground and have some form of generator, they're going to do that because it's just modular and it makes it easy. They get two things for one. And that's where this whole idea came from, because that's what they do in real life. So if you look at what they're doing in real life, you can see that they're, they'll pretty much do the same thing. And that's where the boys started going, well, these are all the variants. Like, so they started talking about like, in the case of the Spartan, there's a medical one that have medical beds that go into, and there's a command and control one, and they went through a whole bunch of different. There's like a radar one, and we haven't even got into shields yet, because we know shields are something that are most likely coming, because the way the A2 works and stuff like that, and they've talked about them in the past. So yeah, we'll see. All right.
And you look at the history of tanks or armored vehicles, and that was really a development of, let's put an artillery gun on a vehicle, because then we can we're not as limited in where we're going. So it's where you've got a ground placed one, you want it on a vehicle, and I think they are, as you're saying, two sides of the same thing. Where one is, the other is, and you ideally want them, I think, to be interchangeable.
Again, World War II in space, like the first one I brought up was the flak gun. Not the what was the I think they called it a flak 88, because flak 88s were used against tank. If I'm thinking of the right gun, they were used against tanks and they were used against air units. So, and then the boys started talking about mortars and stuff like that, because nothing like mortars at the moment, and they're probably going to come as well. But yeah.
I think that players who enjoy the more organized style of planetary warfare will have a lot of fun with it.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the latest advancements in river tech are going to allow artists to crisscross the surface of Stanton's planets and moons with more brooks and streams than ever before. That I've used almost every word in the thesaurus for river in these hosting bits, except runnel. And that the Centurion is the newest vehicle using Anvil's famous Atlas platform and makes a devastating 1-2 punch with the ballista that we all know and love. And as for where we are right now, it may not look like much just yet, but give it another quarter and you're gonna see some serious shit. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.
Okay. Oh, don't forget, guys, if you've got a question, put it in the chat with the word question somewhere in there, and our bot will pick it up and shove it to our list, and we'll be able to answer your questions for you. And on that, we've just had a question come through from Sebastian, who says, it's not really a question, he's just glad to see you're feeling better and out of hospital.
Yeah.
So thank you for that not question.
We're definitely getting kicked around in the algorithm today, because we haven't streamed in a couple of weeks. There's a lot less viewers than normal. But yeah, it's all right. I knew this was going to happen. The
algorithm hates us at the moment.
Yeah, it's the worst.
We did know it was going to happen. We were kind of expecting a 1 week gap, not a 2 week gap, and that's really we're expecting that 1 week hit, not a 2 week dip. So that's life. That's not much we can do about it. We just got to grin and bear it and keep going. So,
but yeah, I do thank everyone for the well wishes as well. So thank you very much. All right. Well, if you guys can get some questions in, or we might actually wrap it up real early.
Or we'll have an early one, because
Yeah. So that's just how it goes. I will jump in the game real quick, and we'll have a look at the PTU. So just give me a momento, and I'll get in the game.
Thank you, Lucky Charms. We love you too, by the way. We love all our backers, all those who like, subscribe, hit the bell. Certainly on YouTube, where the algorithm hates us. So if you really want to make us happy, please feed the algorithm. Feed the algorithm. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me.
Yeah, it's a. I was saying to Algared before, it would have been good if I could have somehow told YouTube I was sick, but there's no way to do so.
Jack Raven has a question for us. He says, "Do you think more ships that can carry these ground vehicles will come?" Yeah. When you think of it, there's already a fair whack of vehicle. You know, there are a fair few ships that can carry vehicles.
I do think, you know, things like the Idris and the Kraken too. That there's technically, how do I put it? I think there may be a ship that's Idris Kraken size that is really tailored towards ground warfare.
Yep.
Like I think it would, it'll lose the. How do I put this? It won't be as good at fighting in space. But it'll be something like it's armored all on top, so when it lands, it's like super defended, and like all the turrets are on the top. So it's designed to land and literally like.
I would expect something like that to be called a tortoise or the. You know,
yeah, it's
or something like that.
It's meant to land and turtle, and essentially somewhere for the, you know, and it's probably got repair facilities for vehicles and stuff like that. So it doesn't have a lot to do with ships, but it's really tailored towards kind of like a mobile vehicle base, essentially.
I was kind of thinking of trying to think what ship we've got at the moment that is really that assault ship, that, you know, the assault carrier. Because I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, the Liberator's the assault carrier," but the Liberator is just a transport ship. It's like, you know, those trucks that carry the cars to market. It doesn't have the amenities to support assault troops or anything else.
Well, it's officially the light carrier is how it's listed, so that implies that there's a medium and a heavy. Actually, I'd have to go double check, but I also believe that the Kraken is listed as a light carrier as well, which is kind of scary if you think of it that way. Like, if they're both light, then what's the medium and what's the heavy? So yeah.
But look, you know, like I say, I really see the Liberator isn't a carrier. It's a ferry. It's a transport ship rather than anything else. But if you're looking for an assault carrier, something to carry vehicles, fighters, and troops, the closest we've got really at the moment is an Idris. It's got the hang of it that can take the vehicles or vehicles or fighters. It's got the ability to land. It's got space for troops and other stuff. But would I want to use it in that capacity? No, because that's not really what it is. But that feels like it's the closest we've got to that. Maybe the Polaris when it comes out, because it's got the hangar and the garage, and I imagine room for Marines. But
does anyone? While I'm thinking of it, does anyone want to join me on the PU? Is there anyone in chat that wants to join me?
I'll pass so at least one of us will be answering questions and talking at the same time, rather than both of us going silent as we're playing.
Yeah, if anyone wants to join me.
Joseph Brand has a question for us while you're loading. He says, "Thoughts on the new Anvil Centurion?"
I think I've kind of talked to Def about it in the video we did a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, I'm just... It feels like they had to create reasons for its existence. That, like, I do agree that it's a good vehicle. I think it should have been a variant. I don't think it should have been a whole standalone. I'll leave it at that.
Well, I personally think, because it's on the Atlas platform, it is a variant. Anything on the Atlas platform is a variant. They're variants of.
Yeah, I do
platform,
hope eventually it's like a variant where, you know, when you buy the turret, and those coolers come with the turret type of thing. But yeah, just.
I have a feeling that they've shifted away from that original idea of variants, and even the variants of the, you know, the Auroras.
I kind of don't agree with that. I don't think they have moved away from variants. Sorry, I'm just doing something on the game. No, I just
Well, the way they talked about variants and different models in the past, as they said, a variant is one that's got basically different skin or different loadout, but the same hard points. And then a different ship was one that had different hard points.
So the other way,
every Aurora.
Yep, just hang on. But the one difference is, right, they added those 2 coolers, right? But if those coolers come as part of the turret, not a part of the ship, I could still see that as a variant.
Yep, I could see, and like,
and the coolers,
I could see that as well.
And the coolers are obviously there, as you said, for the larger guns. So yeah.
Yep. So I could see that being the case for that. But when you look at the Auroras, they are, and even the Mustangs, they are not variants of each other. They are, by CIG's own definition, they became distinct ships. There are 5 different Auroras because they've got 5. Everyone's got different hard points. Even if it's just the missile hard point. The same with the Mustangs.
Your insurance claim.
So they're no longer variants, yet originally they were. I'd like to think that the Atlas platform is a series of variants, but to me, they've also got them as being ships that have different hard points, and so are they going to do it as the trailers? Are they going to do it as, are they going to do it as a trailer, or are they going to say no? And that's where I don't know. I hope they go a variant side, but my gut feeling is that they won't.
To the ASOP vehicle retrieval system.
And I think it's kind of sucky, but that's life.
Your insurance claim has been
Shadow Girl has a question for us. She says, any speculation on one manufacturer the unrevealed ship will come from during CitizenCon? Obviously, we don't know. But what's your gut tell you? So what do you hope, or?
Well, obviously, generally the biggest ship of the year comes out then, so I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see another Atlas platform next year as well, type of thing. I think that's
I personally would.
part of the reason why they're doing it that way, just so they can get ships out. Because they're working on Squadron 42. That's what it feels like to me, but I could be wrong.
So, assuming at CitizenCon we get a large ship, medium ship, small ship, what manufacturers would you think? Or what manufacturer would you hope?
Oh, hope? I still think we do need more Anvil, so it is good. I just didn't expect to see vehicles. We need bigger ships from Anvil. They're missing a lot of bigger ships. But yeah. It's kind of hard to, like I said before, I'm starting to now see needs for other things where I hadn't seen them before, like something that's tailored towards. Well, look at the moment. The biggest ship we've got is like the Hercules that can carry only 2 large vehicles, and that seems. It just seems small now, like with the potential of what this game could be, like. It just feels too small. Like you feel like I don't know. You feel like you maybe 8 vehicles.
Are you trying to say it feels like you need a javelin?
No, because javelins is for ships. I'm just saying
what you mean.
There's
Javelin's
just
still limited in.
Yeah, I want to. You almost feel like you have the hovercraft that carries all the cars across the road. That's like a little mini army coming out of it type of ship, and I'm worried though that if they did that for certain things, it would be too unbalanced. But with vehicles, I don't think it would be a problem. If you made it just for vehicles, no problem. But if you I don't think you could too many ships maybe. Like I can see why they're reluctant to do it for ships, because if you can just rock up and bring a whole army, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough balancing act.
I could see them doing a ship that could do that, but it would be a ship that would require. Something like a Javelin, which was designed specifically for an org where it needed a crew of 30 odd to really run it.
It's kind of like when they talked about. Do you remember how they said you could, in the whole series, you could transfer ships and now I assume vehicles, but they would be in boxes. That's kind of what I'm coming back to. So yeah, you can do it, but it takes a bit of time, and you can't just instantly deploy them. So in a weird way, I still kind of think that things like the whole series is what people are going to use to transfer, like move their fleets. I still keep coming back to that.
And I think for doing that, that's generally what people will use. Whereas, I think for short range stuff, you'll use stuff like a ferry.
And I know what. I was just going to say, I know what manufacturer you're going to say, so I'll let you go ahead and say. I already know you too well.
I'd love to see Kruger, just because they don't have anything. I'd love to see something else from Argo. Depending on what it was. Like if it's industry, I want Argo. I don't want another Drake ship not because I don't necessarily like Drake, because we've got a good range of Drake stuff. I don't want to see any more Anvil or Aegis because we've got them coming out the wazoo.
Yep.
I know people say, hey, one should have bigger ships, and I can never remember which one. But I kind of see it as one's got the focus on the pilots. Aegis and Anvil.
Anvil really needs... So the problem with Anvil, from my perspective, is they are meant to be the competitor Aegis, but they just don't have the big ships to match. They've got hundreds of little ones, but they really... Like even the Anvil the Atlas platform, they have too many small things. They just need a couple of big ones to flush them out, to kind of make them equal with Aegis. Just at the moment, as you kind of said, they just got way too many small ones.
Yeah, I kind of see them as Anvil having lost the Anvil who does the big ships.
Aegis is the main one.
Aegis does the big ships, right? So they were big and popular during the Meso regime. They lost their contracts, and other companies have picked it up. So you've got RSI that does the big carrier. You've got RSI that used to do the Pegasus, there is a question about that, and we'll come to that shortly. The RSI does the Polaris, RSI does the Perseus.
Thank you, and please visit again.
So you've got other companies doing those bigger ships. But in terms of the run-of-the-mill everyday ship, Aegis picked up the contracts for all the small fighters, even beating out RSI's, Scorpius, Black Widow type fighters. So I kind of see they are the competitor to Aegis. They've just wiped out Aegis's, or have been in the process of wiping out Aegis's ability to do the fighters. Would it be nice to see a larger ship? Yeah, but are there other companies that we'd love to see ships from? Sure. I suppose in the long run, and I'm sure you'd probably agree with this, if it makes sense for the company to have that ship, I can cope with it. But there are some ships they bring out the ship for the company, and you go, why? It doesn't seem to fit or gel with that manufacturer, when there are other manufacturers who just seem to have been a better fit.
I would hope. I think they're worried about complaints, but I would hope in time some things get fixed like that, or updated, or because you could even have law reasons, like, so the ships that we've said this would have been way better as this manufacturer, you could make up a law reason that it was purchased by such and such, the rights to it or something like that, and it changes manufacturer or something. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see what happens.
So moving right on, we've got Peter Weir's question, which was, Algared, do you have any thoughts about the Pegasus being removed from existence? I'm not 100% certain it's been removed from existence. It certainly has been removed from RSI, or appears to have been removed from RSI, because it is no longer, when they brought out the new RSI, update in the last jump point, and they listed all the ships that RSI had, the Pegasus was no longer there. Whether that's changed manufacturer, whether it's no longer in existence, whether it's considered an old ship, whether it's a new ship, I have no idea.
Might simply be not a player ship, so to speak, so it's not on the list.
Yep. May also be that it's not a player ship, so it's not on the list, although that list did have the Bengal listed, I believe, so,
Oh, okay.
I'd have to go back and read the article again to confirm that, but my thought is that it didn't have it. But it could be that the law's been changed, because they did go back and rewrite the lore that the Bengal wasn't the ship. You know, the story of the Olympus, which is a carrier that crashed into one of the planets where there's a Tavaran warlord who now rules that area. That was originally said to be a Bengal. It is no longer said to be a Bengal. The Bengal's a much later ship. It was a carrier. So could it be that the Pegasus is the old, you know, they've rewritten it as the old carrier? I don't know. It just seems to have become quiet and in the background. So it does appear that it's gone, but we don't know. That's my thoughts.
Might not be
do I think we need
appearing.
more carriers yet?
Might not be appearing in Squadron 42. There's a whole bunch of reasons there.
Yeah, could be it's an old ship and we're going to find wrecks of it. It could be that it's totally gone. Don't know, just have to wait and see. I do know we're going to want more carriers because I don't think we really have enough. Would it be good to have more player characters? Yes. Was it Pegasus ever going to be a player character? I don't think a player ship. I don't think so. So because it wasn't, I don't think it was ever going to be a player ship. I don't think it's something that they've even bothered about really even exploring in detail, whether it's there or not. So, Del, do you think we'll see 3.18 before AAE or after?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, there's a lot in 3.18, isn't there?
Yep.
And I've kind of, as I've kind of alluded to before, every time you put something in, you break other things. So it's kind of like this one step forward, you know, 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing. But every, you know, even like they're obviously starting to put things in now because like we're seeing that server jump, you know, so we're starting to see that they're making some gains and already kind of spending those gains. So there's some kind of server things happening for them to be able to, you know, just out of nowhere double the numbers. So there's obviously some stuff already in 3.17.2, and we'll just see more of that as it goes along. Now, am I saying that means it's going to double again? No, I don't know what that means, but yeah, we're obviously starting to see the benefits already, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So whether they do more quality of life stuff, whether they double numbers, whether they... So we'll see, I think we'll see a lot of stuff. What we said before, IAE, my gut would say, given that we've just had the big one, all these patches coming in, it's doubling the numbers, and it's fairly big in that regard. I would be surprised if we had 3.18 before IAE. I think we'd get it for IAE, but that's just a speculation on my part.
Yeah, it's you know, they're hoping for it to land obviously at September, but yeah, it's a big patch, and they've already talked about how, you know, that's why we're getting 17.2 because they couldn't go straight to 18 because of that. So we'll see. Yeah, I do find it a little weird. You got to realize, like, they're trying to do it every 3 months, obviously, but sometimes some things are just don't work in a 3-month window. So, well, yes, staggered development and all that, but yeah.
I kind of saw 3.172 as kind of that was stuff that hoped to get in 3.7 and they just couldn't do it. So they kind of said, okay, 3.71's out, we'll add the other stuff as we go, and they've been able to add a bit more in. But it's like you said, it's the nature of development, isn't it? You set out what you hope you're going to be able to do, what you think you can do in that window, and then you run through and do it. And sometimes you get to the point and you go, we're not going to make it, and you change it.
Yeah, and
I don't know any industry that doesn't kind of make those plans and then kind of has to adjust down the track.
You also are kind of going like, how long is a piece of string? You know, you don't know how long you're gonna need. And I know not every profession has those things because there are some professions, and I'm talking about real world, like everyone's got different jobs. There are some professions where, you know, you've done this so many times, you know that that's going to take X amount of time. But there are other professions where, you know, especially if you get into things like art and stuff like that, where there's a creative process involved, and you've just got to be creative, and sometimes it just takes, you just don't know how long it's going to take. And I think that's trying to convey that to the general public is kind of hard. But that's why I'm trying to explain it like that, because when I explain it like that, I think more people can understand. You need to look at it as it's somewhere between artistic and R&D. Yeah. So it's like because here's the other thing. The way I could look at it, another way I could ask is, Algared, how long would it take you to, or you and your team to cure cancer? You can't answer that, can you? So
I can say, we might be able to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But I don't know for certain. It's a bit like with art. You might be able to say, Art, can you create this ship for us? And they can say, yeah. And you can go to the 3D guys and say, can you build this ship for us? And they say, yeah. But then when the second you've got code or something else that has to go in and be built for that, it can slow it down. So look, we've got the caterpillar in game. The caterpillar's supposed to have the doors that open and then act as lifts, and yet we still don't have the lifts because there was code that was causing grief and problems with that. Because it was, the levering door plus a lift, and there was a problem with the physics grids of that. And I don't know whether they've solved that yet, but we still don't have that. Now, you could put the ships in if they function, but there are other things you just can't do when it's like that.
Well, the other part of that, to look at it from the other side too, is do we really need it? And I would argue that we don't really need it until you can physically load the cargo on. And even with the cargo refactor, it's just going to be popping on. So we still don't really need them yet. It's not until we can do the trolleys or whatever they want us to do that we're going to need something like that. So.
And then here's another thought. Because the caterpillar has those great big tractor beams on the side. Are the tractor's beams going to be able to unload and drop the stuff down nice and neatly? So do you need them anyway? So whole lots of questions that go into that aspect. But that whole development cycle.
I would probably argue sorry, I have to, because I was just thinking as you were talking, I'd probably argue that the tractor beams are mainly for in atmosphere. For in space.
Oh yeah, but they'd still work in atmosphere. You're just going to use a lot more energy. So.
That would be slower though, because you can only do certain size boxes. But I digress.
Absolutely. But in terms of development, like I'm a teacher, I can have a program I've taught a dozen times. But there are some times, just because of a class I've got, a class will race through it because they're gifted and talented, and another class will take twice as long than I've expected, just because there's either students who have been sick or COVID hits or any other reason, and our plans go totally out the window, and the teaching time or whatever goes out the window. So even in my profession, where I can say, okay, this usually takes me this time, I can have it blow out, I can have it go shorter, and if that's happening in a profession that I know really well, there's no doubt it happens in one where you don't even know what's coming or what you're going to be able to do. So it's just the nature of development.
Do you guys, I think you guys in chat here, you're more like us, you're more seasoned veterans. Like, do you guys ever get frustrated with anything you kind of don't understand like that? Like, do you guys, like, have you been around long enough now that you understand why it takes time? Because I often wonder, because Algared I talk to, right? But I'm a former developer, so I get it, and I know Algared gets it because he's been here long enough, and I've been kind of beating him over the head with it, so I understand he gets it. But do you guys ever get frustrated, like, not understanding why things just don't come when they say when they're going to come? Can you guys let me know in chat? I'm just curious. So yeah, let us know. Algared, do you want to do another question?
Yep. Just gotta find it.
And we'll come back to that.
Yep. Voodoo Child says, X, based on your development background, which is a nice segue, and that's actually in his question, by the way. How is CIG doing balancing, bug fixing, and new features introduction?
Sorry, I'm reading all the responses in chat. They're talking about how they can get frustrated. It's only human to get frustrated. Things to time, such as selling this. I've been here for 215, still get frustrated with things, experience. Yeah, okay, so they... Yeah, I just wish they were... Like, even for me, I just wish they were transparent, because, like, I sometimes... They are reluctant to say things because... And I don't mean to say this in a harsh way, but I'm just going to say it bluntly. Because there are some people out there that act like idiots, they treat us all like idiots. And I just wish they would realize that some of us understand, but because they treat us all like idiots, I also get frustrated. I just wish that they were... I just wish they'd, you know, kind of... I don't know. I wish they'd treat us like they would treat a fellow colleague. Put it that way, you know. Like we know what they're talking about.
Like idiots.
Yeah. But
I
you
kind of see it as...
Do you know what I mean? Like they treat us like,
I know
like,
what you mean.
because they're very careful with what they say, because they don't really say anything. They're really kind of vague because they're too worried if they say something that someone won't understand that they're going to piss people off. They're more worried about pissing people off than actually trying to fix the problem.
I think part of it is that, but I don't think it's that they're treating us like idiots per se. I think it's that they want to minimise the abuse or cries of BS from those loud, obnoxious idiots who don't understand development, and then abuse and insult and carry on against the staff. So, in a sense, as much as we hate it, as much as I wish they would be more upfront and say, "Oh yeah, this is taking longer than we expected. You know, we hoped it'd be here," and you've heard them say that at times. But I think it's more a protection of trying to look after their staff and look after their team. And if it means I don't get the information I want as clearly as I want because they're protecting and guarding their staff from idiots who just want to complain all the time, then fine, so be it.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see more.
I did think a lot of us that have been here for longer too would also agree is the more people that have come along, the more protective they've had to become. So yeah, less. Yeah, I get it. The bigger something becomes.
How do you get that? How do you get that link or that balance of giving the information without having Spectrum or the internet go ballistic and be hunting for your head? And it is a balancing act, and I think they'd probably err on the side of protecting the staff more than giving us that.
Just real quickly to go, you remember we were talking about the other question about manufacturers? Someone on Twitch called Jimmy literally said, I'd like to see more consolidated Outland, and I have to agree with him. That is a manufacturer.
It is a manufacturer. It has very little because it's only really got
three ships.
But I've got to admit, they are my least favourite manufacturer. I hate Silas Kroner. I hate his company. I don't mind his ships, but I just hate that whole.
Well, I never let law interfere with my ships, so yeah, I don't have a problem.
For me, I just don't like the company. I never really liked. Yeah, it's just. Anyway, going back to the question you've avoided so far.
Sorry.
Based on your development background, how is COG doing balancing, bug fixing, and new features introduction?
So this is often a thing when I talk to other streamers and stuff that we butt heads with, because they always want it balanced right now. But that's why they do very quick and dirty balancing, because if they're balancing the game, they're not working on the game. So I have no problem with it being roughly balanced now, because they'll come back to it at a later date and fix it all up. So I think it's fine. Yeah, it can be a bit frustrating, because even from my perspective, like, they nerf the crap out of the Redeemer for no reason other than to keep people, like streamers and that, happy. But you got to kind of keep it at least half fair for people, so I understand why they did it. Yeah, they'll just keep doing it as they go along, and that's why you get weird things like they just nerf the Ares into the ground, because it was pissing everyone off, all the streamers off, so they just, you know, they're complaining, they do a quick 5-minute balance pass, which is obviously not going to be enough, but that's why they do it, because You want to blame people for the inconsistencies? Target it directly at the streamers, because that's who's. When this, if you think of it really basically, if a streamer is not happy why he's playing the game and he looks miserable, no one's going to buy the game. If he or she is complaining about the game, they are not going to buy the game. So you have to keep your streamers happy.
Yep.
So if you want to wonder why they do that, and you get these radical big changes, that's generally why.
Yep. And that's one of the areas I know that I think that's where you often butt up against the heads of streamers, and I know I'm probably in the same boat. I'm not someone who, people say, "Oh, it's been balanced this way, it's wrecked," and it's still alpha. Get used to it. We're going to get these changes all the time. It's not the way it's going to be, and my problem with a lot of streamers and a lot of players and a lot of and even a lot of people who I find when we do a fix my fleet and we talk to the person over the fleet, but there's a lot of complaint. Oh, we've got rid of all the small ships, or we've done this, or we've done that.
Yeah.
And we're not looking at the now. And I think you're kind of torn, because you want to look at the now so you can play the game now, but you also really need to be constantly looking at what it's going to be.
And I think even in both situations, though, most people, when they actually sit there and analyze it, the end game, as in the release of the game, is far more important than the now. It's just that as humans, we get very caught up in the now, and it's we all have, especially the younger generations, have a very short impatience, and they don't want to wait, and they want it now, and but at the end of the day, we like when we do those fix my feats, we do try to plan for that a bit more now, don't we?
Yep. Well, I think we've always done that. Like, we've always said to people, what are the ships you must have? What is the thing what's your daily drive, or what's the ship you want to be driving around in daily, and that. But I know when we build those, when we talk to people and help them work out their build of their fleet, we are looking at where you want to go and what's the best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And there might be better, smaller ships out there, or but we're never looking at that in terms of, and we're never saying, when we say a ship's bad, we're never saying it's bad. We're just saying
bad value is what
bad value for what you're getting
yeah.
at the moment. And I know one ship we often say is bad value is the K2 Owl, but I've got to agree with Dawn from the chat. It is a lovely ship, and it's got an awesome name.
Mm-hmm.
It's named, I always say it's named after me because it's a K2 Owl. So what's not to like about that?
We do also say, get whatever ship you want. That's something else we say as well. Like we don't. We don't dictate to people what they get and stuff.
No.
We just.
At the end of the day, it's their wallet, their money.
Yeah.
Do what you want. Do what you want. But if you come to us and say, "Hey, help me organise my fleet and get the best bang for my buck," we'll work through and try and help people get what we think is the best bang for buck, and we'll give them reasons why we think that.
Yeah.
No, Del, owl in New Zealand language is actually human.
Oh, there you go.
It's the K2 built for the human market. So there you go. Or the Scout built for the human market.
So what you're telling us is you're human. Algared. Right.
Yep, I'm human. I'm a human Garrett. There you go. So there you go. That's my bit of trivia for the day, based on lore. Okay, so I just got to find where we're up to. We're up to Lucky Charms.
Ooh.
Okay, question 5 so far. If I wanted to give you guys a ship to give away, how do I do that? Hit you up on Discord? Yes.
Yeah, you can do that. We haven't done a lot. We traditionally haven't done a lot of ship giveaways. I still need to get back to that thing we were going to do. So we were trying to organise, and it's just, if you ever kind of organise anything, there's many moving parts. We were, if you remember, we did the F7A giveaway with oh man, I'm forgetting the guy's name now. God damn, what's his name? Starting with J. I'm terrible.
Yep. I've forgotten his name as well. I'd have to go back in the streams and.
Oh, it's been like 6 months, so I've forgotten his name. But the gentleman unfortunately passed away. But what kind of happened while that happened was the guy that gave us the upgrade, he also had a friend commit suicide. So what we wanted to do was kind of bring attention to that, and we were trying to get a system where you could nominate people for the giveaway. So basically, you know, almost like a check-in system. So people, almost like, just because people do get depressed and stuff, and we didn't like that whole concept. So we thought, if you're offering someone a chance to win a ship, it makes them feel better, and it goes to someone that probably needs a bit of a
Jaden.
pick me up. Jaden, thank you very much. Yeah, and so because this guy had 2 friends pass in rapid succession, we were like, oh geez, and it did, you know, so it was kind of like a suicide prevention check-in thing, and it's more than just suicide prevention. Like, sometimes if you're down, because I did talk about my depression a little bit when we talked about Jaden, just, you know, someone asking how you are can make a really big difference to people's days. So we were just thinking of a different way to give away the ships, but there was no foolproof way to do that. So I'm still kind of want to do that.
We're still torn on how to do it, and I think one of the other things is we always tried to avoid doing it because we wanted people to be on the channel who lost.
Yeah,
because it was giveaways,
and we did test the giveaway stuff during Invictus this year, where we gave away those 3 ships, and it definitely does encourage people to come to the channel and boost views, but
and do all that stuff.
But yeah, that's why we're kind of smaller than most people, because we've never really done the giveaways and stuff. Well, I don't know. You guys tell me.
At least that's our thought. That's our thought as to why we're small.
Yeah, well,
everyone. How many of you guys say, why you guys only got this many subscribers? Why are you so small? And
would rather you come for the content than just come for free ships. But you know, you guys tell us if you guys want us to do giveaways and stuff. We can look at doing them, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, it just feels a bit artificial, doesn't it?
Yeah, as Lucky Charm says, want to give back to you guys for the content of years of help with fleets, etc.
We get not to diminish what you're doing there, but we do get offers like that all the time.
Yeah.
But we don't kind of turn them down. We just kind of just don't take them up on it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But if you really want to support us and do things in that, you know, there's Patreon, there's the YouTube membership, there's that little dollar thing in the chat for, you know, paying for coffees and stuff. But we don't do this because we want Patreon support. We don't do this because we're after the YouTube membership or the dollar coffees or anything like that. We do it because we like Star Citizen and enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And hey, we like speculating about everything. Yeah. But you know, if you want to support us and help us replace equipment or improve equipment or improve everything else, then we're not going to say, oh no, we don't want it. And that's the same with ships, you know. So,
right? Can anyone
for giveaways? But
just want to ask real quickly: is there anyone that can tell me how to get to the river? I wanted to go to the river after that thing, but I've forgotten where it is. And anyone tell me? I know someone.
I can't remember it myself, so.
I honestly can't remember.
But if we do I'll wait. We'll certainly let you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, talk to us on Discord. Hit one of us up on Discord, and we'll go from there. But we like to have a kind of reason for giveaways. So yeah. I don't know if you can think of a reason why you'd want to give your ship away, or something that you would like to do for the community, not just give a ship. Like it's more like give a shit, is what I'm trying to say. No, I'm just saying, like you know, I actually, we don't do this for money. We do this for the passion of the game, and that was something in those little interviews we did at the Bar Citizen too that kept coming across, was everyone was talking about it was the people and the friends they'd made and all that type of stuff. It wasn't just the game. It was the people. That's what came across. It was the
community. That was the so from New Babbage, 205 degrees.
Okay, New Babbage.
And that'll take you to that direction apparently.
205, Roger.
So yeah, that's where that's yeah. Okay, Sebastian has a question. He says, do you think there's room for an Atlas platform-based cargo transportation vehicle?
Yes.
Sort of like a flatbed truck or larger cargo ships? Yes. I
Yeah.
think even when we're talking about it, I even suggested a flatbed or
just
something.
look at the Spartan, but you kind of change the trailer to just be like a cargo pod, you know.
Yeah, well,
Done.
you know, even the Atlas with a tow truck. You know, I could see the Atlas being the recovery vehicle. And that makes sense. Like, I could even see the Nova having
I've got the name.
version.
Algared, I've got the name. It's the Argo Dung Beetle. Just rolling its shit uphill.
But if you look at, you know, because it's World War II in space, you know, you look at World War II tanks. Certainly, and unfortunately, I can't talk about the Allied tanks as well as I know German tanks. But if you were after a recovery vehicle, you know, a recovery vehicle is generally, you know, Panzer IV, recovery vehicle, Panzer IIIs, we took off the turret, put a crane on. When the Tigers came out, they eventually even brought out Tigers recovery vehicles because the other vehicles were too small to tow the Tigers and the bigger vehicles back. So you literally used your main chassis to create your recovery vehicle so you could pull those vehicles back. So having an Atlas recovery vehicle would make perfect sense in terms of real world and stuff as well. So
might even see something like an Atlas mine layer, you know, down there.
Yeah.
The potential is quite, I don't like to say endless, but very, very broad. And that's what came out of our discussions with the military guys. Just, you could almost take anything from today and you can see that as a thing. So yeah.
Yep.
That's why it's so worrying about what they're doing, where they made it a whole separate variant, because it was just like, they could be doing this for years. So yeah.
The Peyton asks us a question. Peyton asks us, what's the best ship to take my Picos sightseeing? My follow-up question to that is, how many Picos do you have?
Well, if it's
If
just
you've only got the one Pico,
85X,
you know,
isn't that for touring?
you know, if you've only got the one Pico, then you only need a, you know, an Aurora LX or a
Now just picturing something like the A2 bomber, but he's just like raining Picos down, you know, like the cluster bomb module.
Know, if you've got millions of Picos you want to take to a place, then you need to take you know, an A2 bomber, and you know, so a C8 Pisces is also a really good ship for taking a little Pico and a Finley the Whale. You can put them on the passenger seats, so take them to the different places. He needs all the Picos, 200 plus Picos. Well, if 200 plus Picos, you're looking at
just take the steel. It's got like 18 seats and no life support. Just anyway.
I'm not even sure 200 Picos would fit in a steel. You're probably looking at a Carrack, you know, 890 jump. You know, depends whether you want them to travel in style.
I'm now picturing like an Idris, and it's like one of those ball rims. You know, the kids' ball pits. Yeah.
I'm just picturing scenes of the Despicable Me with all the minions.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, Picos are the Star Citizen minions, so a whole E-worth of Picos. That's a nightmare waiting to happen. So moving on right along with that, Risky says, first, I'm glad to see you're well and back.
Thank you.
We're glad to be back as well, and actually glad to be functioning with an arm again. And the question is,
I'm still getting there. But yeah.
From our matrix of industry ships, do you think there will be a capital above the industry and Starfarer, and if so, what will they be?
Sorry, capital above what? Sorry.
So remember the matrix of 9 ships. You know. So do we think there'll be ships higher than the Crucible and Starfarer? I think we certainly thought the Starfarer would have a bigger ship.
Yeah, not sure about the Crucible, but it is a possibility, isn't it?
Yep. And the Crucible we're not sure of, because we're not sure how much it's going to grow. Is probably the best way to indicate that. Anything else to add to Risco's question next?
No, I'm pretty sure we'll see a nebula gas miner though. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I've just
executes
name
working.
for it. Instead of saying capital gas miner, I just say nebula because it'll mine gas nebulas and whatever. So yeah.
Shempasta has a question. When will CIG increase the player cap? 3.172.
When the update comes out later today, hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when it comes out, apparently on Thursday, which is for an American today. So sometime today, it will increase to, it'll double from 50 to 100.
Yep.
So Ted Wendelbo has a question. He says, so are the Iron and Inferno variants or different ships?
They are different ships.
They are different ships because their hard points are different. According to a document the CIG put out, and that's an old document now, but when they were talking variant, what is the difference between a variant?
I think that's the problem. From a developer perspective, it's very easy to make things completely separate ships, but really you could make them the same for a player's benefit. So my biggest concern, right, is that the marketing are separating ships and not making them variants rather than the design team. I think that kind of covers what I'm trying to say, because because from a player perspective, it's much cooler if you can just have one and cycle things through, and it's kind of cool because that's what real life is like, right? They make something like the APC for the army, and they can put on any guns or variants or customizations they want because that's the flexibility of it. That's what real life is. You want that flexibility. But from a marketing perspective, you want to try and make it so it's easy for you to just pump stuff out, and you can copy paste it, and people have to buy as many as possible. You see, so it's the problem where the real world of marketing hits the real world of design, and that's where it becomes a problem. Where I don't want. At the end of the day, what me and Algared are saying, and I think not to put words in your mouth, Algared, we don't want it to affect our game.
Yeah, we don't want marketing to affect the game.
Yeah.
And I could see I can understand what they've done with the Ares 9, one's ballistic, one's energy. But I would have liked a situation where I could change the weapon, where if I put a ballistic one on, putting the ballistic weapon on came with the weapons cartridges. And if I put an energy weapon on, it came with the capacitors or whatever we needed for that weapon. I can understand them saying, okay, it's such a big weapon, you need a bigger power plant. But that would have been in variants. I would have seen that as being you've got to put you've got the base power plant. You have to upgrade it.
Namek.
So I would have liked to have seen them be variants, but I think they made them as totally different ships.
Just real quick, Namek, how far out from Babbage do I have to head? I'm currently 109.8. So just let me know. I'm worried now that I've gone too far. All right. Anyway, sorry, Algared, you were saying.
No, I'd actually just finished what I was saying, so we'll go on to the next question, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, I just to clarify, I do think they've got them as separate ships, but I wish they were variants, where you could just swap over, because they've actually got the similar hard points, but the hard points are different, and I think they've got them. Didn't they say the weapons are bespoke to each ship, aren't they? So
which kind of doesn't make sense, because quite honestly, it just doesn't make sense.
Yep. So because they've said the weapons are bespoke, they're different ships.
The only
440 kilometers.
The only
Shadow Girl's response.
400. Okay, right. Thank you, Shadow Girl. The only thing that I would say, and you guys think about it from a real world perspective, is that for some reason the Gatling gun is lighter, but the ship is heavier because of the armor for the Inferno, and therefore the Ion is heavier, but therefore it's got less armor to make it. Look, that makes a logical sense, right? Yeah. So I think that's the only law-based reason that also makes sense, right? So I could get behind it in that case, but it's just a little annoying, because quite honestly, I think they should be. How much? Well, put it this way: if you could take the armor off and change the guns, how much better would you feel about the Ion, the Ares? I would feel so much better if you could swap between those two variants. It'd be sick.
You could swap the gun out and buy the gun in the in the store and swap them out. Yeah, it'd be awesome. It's a bit like not the Hurricane, the Hornet. You know, you used to be able to put ballistics on or take the ballistics off and put energy weapons on. So you could actually gear your ship to best suit your gameplay. And that was, for me, that was enabling us to play the game our way, not necessarily play the game their way, because and yes, you can say, well, buy an Ion if you want to play it that way, or buy an Inferno if you want to play it the other way. But there are sometimes you want to play it this way, there are some days you want to play it the other way. But yeah, it's just, I wish we had variants, not individual ships, but I think they've gone that individual ship line.
Yeah, and I do think ships like the Ares do need to exist where they're a little bespoke and different. But that's a really good example of a ship where we don't call it good value, because you look at the other ships around it in price, and they're just so much larger.
Or they've got more versatility or more gameplay options rather than just pew,
Because even ones that are cheaper, like you look at the Corsair, like how could you say that the Corsair is cheaper than the Ares? Like, I don't know, a lot of people are going to go, oh, the Corsair's not out, but I don't even think the final price of the Corsair is going to be,
No, well, I think they'll keep the Corsair at best down to the price of an Andromeda.
I think I worked it out to about 235, 240.
Yep.
So, yeah. And even then, like, as you said, the Andromeda, that's a really good example.
And it's supposed to be worse than fly worse than a Connie, so you'd expect it to be less than an Andromeda.
Well, I even look at things like the Terrapin. How is it more expensive? Like, the Terrapin is physically bigger, and I know a lot of people go, oh, the guns, etc., blah, 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 but, even going smaller, something like, say, the Raft. The Raft looks more expensive than an Ares, and the Raft is like, what, $150 or whatever, so, yeah, it's crazy.
And so it's a frustration we have. And I think a lot of ships, when as Shadow Girl says, she says, I like the Scorpius. Once we have computer blades, it'll be really fun. And I think any ship will be really it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But when you got computer blades, it might mean you get a weapon size downgrade. But if it means I can take it out solo instead of needing a crew, then that'll be awesome as well. Same with the Carrot. If I can have blades in my turret, does that mean I can take it out? I've got pilot controlled guns now, or so. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Nicolo Ferrer says, feels like COG is missing the mark on multi-crew versus solo profitability on industrial ships. Rock versus Rock DS, Prospector versus Mole, capacity increase, feels weak. Thoughts? Vulcan versus Reclaimer.
I think there are strengths to any ship in a given size category, but this is something that we run up constantly, like, why do we always recommend the big ships? And a lot of it is with that earn down economy. And one of the things, like, we often say to people is, if you look at using your example, the Vulcan versus the Reclaimer, you can't take two Vulcans and do what the Reclaimer can, yet they cost more than the Reclaimer. So you're
looking for value for money.
Yeah, the Reclaimer is just a better option, and because you can once you have a ship at a certain level, all the ships underneath it you can very kind of easily obtain through questing. So that's why I often see us recommend the big ships, because it basically, you're essentially very quickly giving them almost all the ships underneath that ship. Yes, of course, if there's like 10 fighters that you want, it'll take you longer, but rather than having 10 fighters and costing $1,000, you're better off to have a ship that costs $1,000, because getting from a fighter to a ship that costs $1,000 is going to be way more impossible compared to taking that $1,000 ship and getting the 10 fighters underneath. And once you kind of understand that analogy, it's not really what ship you want. It comes for what ships are you going to get very rapidly in succession, because you have the bigger ship.
And yes, thank you, Del. We do understand but he did mean the Vulture rather than the Vulcan.
Oh,
and
shit,
even
sorry.
though we said
Yes,
Vulcan,
sorry.
we were both still thinking, you know, small salvage versus big salvage.
Sorry,
we
I
didn't even click.
I do that all the time. Algared will
Yep.
tell you. I mix up ships of the same, so like Gladius and Gladiator, and my bad. I meant Vulcan, not Vulture. Sorry, yes. Sorry.
Even the question had Vulcan, not Vulture, but the whole we were talking. You know, our understanding was he was asking about the Vulture, not the Vulcan. So and that's what you know, we just kept with the name he'd given us. You know, we're human. But
oh, of course as hell.
And I think part of it is also like, yes, we understand that the bigger ships will often have more crew, but then there's also the ability to upsize your crew. You know, have a couple of friends with a couple of.
Not to mention, like, much like the Mole, you can technically solo them, and if you can get through one quest, you'll have enough money. Like, we've talked about this to the cows come home, but like the amount of money that you can, like you've talked about this, like the difference you had between the Aurora and just the Retaliator was literally like 6 times the profitability on one mission, and you know that scale's only going to go up as they get bigger. So it was more than 6 times actually. It was 12 times. It was 12 times.
It was
no
massive amounts of
18 times, because you did the same mission. So just to reiterate, he did the Xeno threat mission in Aurora. He did it 3 times and got $50,000. He did it once and got 300,000. So I'll let someone work out the math on that. But yeah.
It probably wasn't 300. It probably,
6.
but it was a lot.
18.
I'd have to go back and have a look.
I've got it written.
It was a lot.
I've got it written down somewhere. So it'll be about 18 times the difference, roughly.
It was a significant amount of difference, and you know, and that was including the cost of upgrading the torpedoes. If you went to crappy torpedoes on the Retaliator, the stock standard, you know, I'd done the Retaliator and using the stock standard torpedoes, you know, barely got a hit and all the rest of it. Went to the shop, upgraded the torpedoes. Every torpedo hit, and it was just the credits just went ding, ding, ding. Oh, you've just killed another Idris. Oh, you've killed another Idris. And up went the credits. It was just insane profitability on terms of that, the Retaliator versus the Aurora doing the Xeno threat. But yeah, it was big ship burning down. It was quite, you know, and I'd been making money on the Aurora. I was making good money on the Aurora, but it just left it for dead in comparison. All right, next question. Lucky Charm says, can we do an LTI ship giveaway with all paints in my tree? Give us a reason. We're happy to do it. There you go. Shimpasta has a question for us. He says, when will we get persistent hangers? Just like wizards when they're ready. I think we're slowly getting there. The more we go into persistence, the better we'll get to that. Persistent hangers will mean that basically that's where our home is, and that's where all our equipment is, and that's where our crap is. When they do that, I can expect that to be all your ship parts will go there, so you'll have to go back there to do your ship transfer or equipment. Now we're slightly there at the moment, but I can see them going more along those lines, and so yep. Any addition to Shimpasta's question about persistent hangers, X?
When are they coming?
Yep.
Wasn't it on the roadmap at the start of the year? I could be wrong.
Oh, I'd have to go back and have a look.
Oh man, how long is it going to take to get here? We're not even halfway.
And you're probably flying into the night as well, rather than getting, you know.
Yeah, and going in the wrong direction. And
Yep. That's, you know, Murphy's a bastard.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it being on the roadmap at the beginning of the year. I don't know. I'd say it has to kind of come along the lines with the cargo stuff, yeah? Especially if they're doing it out of the hangar. But again, probably a bit early. So when it's needed, I guess, is how I look at things.
So, yep. Yeah, if you fly higher up, you actually can go faster.
Right. Okay.
And thanks for giving us that reminder, Shadow Girl. There's a question. David Bolos has a question for us, which is almost a critique of Star Citizen content creators, and I think in a sense he's right. He says, do you think Star Citizen content creators and the internet as a whole will ruin the exploration career path?
No, because they can have things turn off and on. So we've talked about this for a long time. So they obviously can't just have a wormhole there that you can discover. But you know how wormholes can kind of appear and disappear?
Yep.
So when they eventually want to release a new system, they don't even have to tell us. They just turn on that wormhole, and Joe Blow could go past that wormhole every day and never have known it was there, and then all of a sudden he finds a wormhole.
Yeah, so I can kind of see, I think they could, because I know most games, you know, people put it up, they say, hey, found this, and everyone starts following it and going and seeing it. So it can take the joy of finding something. But
what's the profit in it for them to do so as well? You know what I mean?
For a content creator.
Content creator, yes, but for the. Is the content creator themselves going to find it? Probably not.
Yep. And that's the key, isn't it? It's if the content creators are able to find it and then post it, then yes. But if they don't find it, then no. But he also does catch up with the internet, and I do know, you know, people being people.
Because another way to look at it is, say, content creator finds a new system, they take all the footage of it and keep sharing all the footage of it, but nobody else knows. No one else.
Anyone how to get there.
Yeah. So the only way they can see it is through their person's content. So there's multiple ways to look at that.
And if and realistically, you know, now that you've mentioned it, if I was a content creator and I'd found a system and it was unknown.
Wait, is that the river down there? Nope, I'm not sure. Is that it? Is it that?
It's hard to see. But if I was a content creator and I found a system and I was in there by myself, and I was able to keep doing footage and streaming, playing the game in this system, exploring the system, seeing the different, etc., with no one knowing where I was, and that was getting me clicks and views, I would not be telling people how to get there. You know, just because it means I've got a monopoly on that site. So yeah.
And you'd also, what you're saying there. Yeah, especially if it's highly profitable for their in-game. They might be with an org, and that's the agreement they have with their org. There's so many things that's a lot of moving parts.
Yep. And so, moving on to the next question. Risque says, do you think we'll get more good, mid-size, general daily drivers to compete with the Freelancer and Cutlass? From whom is the 400i and MSR the size we get those?
So we actually we did a thing, didn't we? When we did a poll a couple of streams ago, didn't we? And we were talking about the question that came up was, do we would we like to see like a Crusader starter ship or whatever? And then I did a poll after that where we actually said, would you rather see a new starter ship, or would you rather see a ship that's like the size of a Freelancer or a Cutlass? And people said they'd prefer to see a ship that's like a Freelancer or a Cutlass. So yeah, I do agree that we do need some more mid-range in that area, especially when there's only the Cutlass and the Freelancer, and you've got a lot at the front end, and we're now starting to see a bit more up at the large end, the medium. But one thing I will tell you is we're expecting the medium and large ones to come at the end because they're the most versatile. So you know,
generally we've seen the pattern seems to be we see a small ship come out, or we see the capital ship come out, and then we see the small ship, and then the medium and large are the one come out in the middle because they're the sweet spots. They're the ships you can generally do by yourself. And
I think the only example we kind of have of that at the moment is the Mole. where we got the Orion, then we got the Prospector, and then we got the Mole. But
the Orion had been sold first, the Prospector came second, and the Mole came third, so it still fits with that pattern.
Yes.
Even though the Mole was the second one in game.
Yeah.
So,
And there will be ship sales that will eventually break that mold because, again, they're generally selling from best to worst or worst to best. Sorry, because well, one that's breaking that already is the Expanse. But I'm highly expecting that well, if you think of the way the refineries work, the capital ship is going to be the bee's knees compared to the others.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And I think when you look at that, someone just mentioning in chat, Kyle Ulrich, that the Argo Raft is his favourite daily driver. And I think, in answer to the question, there are other ships that are in that same, I think, in that same capacity as the Freelancer and Cutlass, or have a little bit more. So, you know, you've got the Connie at 96 cargo units. You've got the Argo Mole, the Argo Raft at 96 cargo units. You've got the 400i that people use. So they're kind of within that range, and some are more heavily armoured, some are more heavily weaponed, some have a slightly more cargo, some are more general ships, and it depends on how people are deciding what is a daily driver for them. Some people just want their daily driver to be something to do everything in. Some people want it to just be something they do mining in. Like I think if we spoke to John Citizen,
it'd be the Prospector,
and we asked him what his daily driver is, he'd probably say a Prospector. Now I can't do much transporting goods in a Prospector, but it's certainly a ship I'd take mining, but I wouldn't want to take it doing bounty missions. And I imagine the Raft is like that as well, and the 400i with its weapons at 10 to 5 have better rear coverage. Is a ship I'd be not necessarily wanting to take to do bounty missions. But so it's kind of in there for different ships for different people, and but I think anything where we've got more ships and more distinctly different ships from different manufacturers is a go. I don't want to see another Cutlass. For God's sake, not another Cutlass.
Actually, if you kind of sit there, Crusader works that way, but I would kind of agree with what I forgot the gentleman who said it before, but the Raft is kind of in that vein too, isn't it? It is a cargo ship technically, but I think at the end of the day that's going to be more Sky Crane when that thing's all said and done. I think you'll find that when the cargo refractor comes in, that ship's going to change its role quite considerably. That's going to have
and it's going to come into its own and be like the ship that we all want. Yes, and Connie is cargo also, like I said, 96 cargo for the Connie, for an Andromeda at least. I really do. I know the Aquila still has 96, but I really think the Aquila will end up being more. Hopefully, will end up being more Phoenix size and have more of a deck. Have the deck in there too, as well, and the wider cargo bay. But
can anyone tell me if I'm in the river's vicinity? Because this looks like it might be the area, but I'm not too sure.
I just see a blue screen.
Yeah, it's very dark.
It's very dark, and it's just even your radar's blank. So
yeah.
So yeah, turn your lights on.
I don't think it'll make any difference.
And how low are you?
20,000. So I'm still fairly high.
Yep. So Harry Knight has a question. Are we still expecting the Corsair in November?
I hope so.
It'd be nice. If it's not, does it matter?
I would picture it would be kind of like what happened with the Redeemer, where they released it at CitizenCon. It feels very... You tell me if you think I'm wrong there, Algared. Like what happened... they kind of released it during that sale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Look, they've done that type of thing in the past, and if you want to build If you've got a major event, that's where you want to build your,
Hype.
you want to plug your stuff and be able to build sails and stuff and new ships, even if they're old ships that are coming flyable, that's going to increase sales. So I'd expect it then if it's coming. But if it doesn't come, it's not the end of the world, because I've always held that, you know, hey, you hold off my ship for 6 months or so, that often means that, you know, they'll do extra fixes and make it better. Shadow Girl says, are you 440 kilometers from New Babbage?
Yes,
Okay.
Well,
are you...
Hang on.
And what heading did you have to be from New Babbage?
205 is what
205. So are you 205 heading from New Babbage?
Hang on. So I'm now 450, so technically I'm 10 kilometers more than I'm meant to be.
And you want to be on that heading of 205 from New Babbage, so
yeah,
that would be
I was
180 off that, so whatever that works out at, I can't be bothered to count.
So there's...
And then hopefully it'll turn light soon, and you'll be able to see anyway.
Yeah.
So
if I'm 10 kilometers too far, sorry. Yep, sorry.
So I hope that answered that question for you, Harry. And then Dawnstealer has a question for us, and they ask, what do you think 319 will be? I'd have to go back in to have a look at the...
Gonna be honest, I'm kind of hoping 318 is 4.0. We've got to be due for 4.0 soon, but that'll be with
well, I think 4.0 is when we get Pyro, so, or when we get the jump point, so...
Yeah.
So yeah, at 318, 319... Hopefully, if 318 is 4.0, then 319 is 4.1. So, yeah, I don't really mind as long as we're still getting progress. I can cope. You know, whether it's back end progress and you can actually see the development and you can see where it's heading. But that's, you know, for me, it's having come from knowing that what Chris Roberts had done in Wing Commander and knowing that he was always pushing as far as he could. So for me, it was never a matter of, oh no, it's not coming. It's just a matter of hopefully it comes, and you know it comes sooner than later. And as long as the gameplay is good and they keep keeping things the way they are, then I'm generally happy. But yeah. Cascadian has a question for us. He says, what niche do you think the first large class ground vehicle will fill?
What niche? Could be any. I'd probably more likely to say it's going to be along the lines of things we've already seen. So, well, we obviously saw mining with the rock. So, you know, you see medical coming along. You've got salvage coming along soon as well, so yeah, things like that. Go follow the gameplay, essentially.
I could see a salvage vehicle.
Yeah.
Large salvage vehicle, because so many people crash their ships or land their ships and then die, so their ships are abandoned. I could see a mining vehicle or a hauling vehicle. That it? So I could see a whole variety of different ships, so, or vehicles. So yeah, don't really know. Could be anything, as Execute said. Dell has a question for us. If Consolidated Outland is an analog for Tesla, why has Silas not tried to buy Spectrum, then tries back out of the deal? Did you ask that question on Spectrum, Dell? It's a good question, and he probably has. I'll answer that as well. You see that, Dell? It's because my family has prevented that deal going through. Thank you, Old Man Hurston. The Old Man Hurston claims that it's because the Hurstons have blocked his deal, blocked his efforts. So there you go. The Hurstons aren't all bad.
Oh, shish! I hit a tree. I think I hit a
You
tree.
hit a tree.
Yeah, I hit a tree. Damn.
They've got a tree. Bit like a cave troll.
Yeah.
Um,
Kaboom.
yeah, can't answer your question, Del. You'd have to take that to Dave Haddock, I think. William Wolf has a question. So, you all think we'll get another long-range heavy fighter, such as the Vanguard, interior comparable size? With Pyro coming up, small fighters will have problems with long-distance trips.
Did you and Paul do that episode with David Haddock yet?
We did.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was on one of I think it was the second last pod stream we did.
Oh, okay. I was just been in hospital. I couldn't remember. I just remember you were going to.
That was pretty good.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Worth checking out if you haven't checked it out. It's worth hunting down and watching. But it was it felt like we all had a good time and a good laugh and a good giggle, and Dave didn't seem to get bored, which was even better.
Sure. We all want to be able to work.
And of the 20 or so questions we submitted, I think we got through like 6 of them.
Oh wow, really? Jeez.
So, but it did feel like a nice conversation. So,
hopefully you get a chance to ask him the rest of another day.
So yeah, so it was quite good. So go check that out on Astropub's. So let's see, moving on.
What was the question?
William question about larger ships.
Yep. What was it again?
He said, so it's you all think we'll have another long-range fighter like the Vanguard?
Eventually.
Interior compatible size, etc. With Pyro coming up, smaller fighters will have problems with long-distance ships, and I think so. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I think eventually you'll, even like this is down the road after release. I think they will eventually have competitors to almost everything. So your small mining vehicle, they'll have, and again, obviously. Small crafts are easier to make than large ones, so you're gonna have a lot more competition on the small stuff than you are on the large stuff. So
and why we've seen so many fighters.
Yeah, so something like a Kraken will be a lot more unique than, as I said, a small mining vehicle. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I'd like to see more of those types of ships, because I think we've only really got the one real long-range fighter. We don't really have others. I think that's where the Connie used to fit into that category as well, being the long-range space superiority fighter. But I think the Connie has left that role and has become more just a armored freighter, which hurts.
I also think there are other ones there that are not, because I also see the Banu Defender as a long-range fighter.
Although it's a light fighter, and
so it's because it's designed to travel with the Banu Merchantman and stuff like that. So I don't know.
But I think I'd agree with you. The fact that it's got beds does give it that it's a long-range fighter. Yeah. The same as the Aurora in many ways, because it's got the bed. It actually falls into that long-range fighter thing. It's crappy. I wouldn't want to send it as a long-range fighter, but the fact that it's got the beds does give it that ability or a better ability to function in that role.
Well,
over a lot of small ships.
Certain ships just seem to be able to go further than others, like the Eclipse, for an example. It's probably not as long range. How do I put this? So if I'm jumping from ArcCorp to Microtech, some ships just can't even make that jump. But then you get ships like the Eclipse that I was surprised. Not only does it make that jump, it does it fairly quickly, like compared to other small ships. So, and And if you think about it, though, that thing kind of has to go stealthily a fair way, drop its target, turn around and come back. So,
yeah. And the other thing you find is even on those small ships, if you change out your quantum drive or you change out your jump drive, so it's a different quality.
Yeah.
You can triple your range. So,
Vehicle selected.
but yeah, I would like to see some more
Your vehicle
heavy
has been routed to the
fighters
following
in that
locations.
Vanguard-y
Please
size,
visit us
range,
again.
style,
Welcome.
etc.
Goodbye to the ASOP vehicle retrieval system.
Harry Knight has another question. He says, I want to plan my fleet, but I don't know enough about exploration, scanning, or mineral versus
Your
data
insurance claim has
versus
been sent.
cartography,
Please
etc.
visit us
Jump on the
Probably the
Discord.
best way, Harry, is jump into the Inforunners Discord, go into the Fix My Fleet channel, ask them questions, and no doubt you'll get help left, right, and centre from either members in our community who have drunk our Kool-Aid to the cows come home, members of our community who haven't drunk our Kool-Aid as strongly and tell you other things, and then you might get an argument in the chat, or you can hit Execute right up and organise a Fix My Fleet with us, and we will try and get time where we'll sit down with you and talk the whole thing through. And so
exactly.
Lots of options there. Just go to our channel and do that.
Never hurts to have multiple opinions either. So
so like one of the reasons we very rarely, I don't think we've ever done a Fix My Fleet with only one of us. We've always got, and we always encourage this as well, and that's purely for that reason.
I think the initial looks or something, we'll go over, but never have not done one where at least you and I haven't looked at it. Yeah, for sure.
And that's even if you or I look at it solo, there's usually other people in the community have kind of had a look as well. So
it's
partly
always
because
good to check yourself, isn't it? So
we tend not to just something like that. We tend not to just do by ourselves. It tends to be a collaborative experience, because we think more minds.
Less mistakes.
Errors or pick up mistakes, and even when we do it, we often have different points of view as well. So it gives the person you're talking to, I think, more options to consider, and then they say, yeah, I really like that idea. No, I like,
Thank you.
and that informs on where the choices and decisions and recommendations go. So,
and a lot of time they don't go with what we suggest, do they? Sometimes they don't understand what we're trying to say, and sometimes they're just really, for lack of a better word, obsessed with a very particular ship.
Or manufacturer. We have had
they're
people who are the different ones. We've had people who are absolute origin files.
And they're the ones I struggle with, is where they are clearly talking about ship A, but they can't buy ship A because they don't like that manufacturer, and I just it boggles me, right? But I understand there are people like that.
I really want this ship, but it's this manufacturer.
But that's their prerogative at the end of the day. What's the saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's a bit like that, isn't it?
But it's as I say, well, it's their wallet, their money. It's you ask us what's the best value. We tell you this is what we think is the best value. Why? But then you've got all your other factors in there. Your choices, your likes, your dislikes, and they will always have an impact. And there will be those decisions, those factors that we can't account for. And I would have to be, in fairness, our choices are often laboured by our own
biases,
prejudices as well. So but it's giving people, the idea is to give people the different points of view and different ideas, and then help them make those choices, and then work out where to best put the money.
100%.
Thoughts on 600 Explorer as an Explorer value? So 600i Explorer value, question mark.
I think you and I have talked about this quite a few times, but it's generally, look, if you're into the Origin aesthetic, I'm never going to convince you not to buy it, right? But at the end of the day, for the money, there are better Explorer options for less. And for very little money, once you've already, what is it, like $480, isn't it?
Yep, something like that. I'd have to go double check, but it is.
You're talking.
More, I know it's more expensive than the Aquila.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's pushing up towards.
Yeah.
Certainly, at one point it was above the Carrack.
My point being, at $480 for 120 more, you get to the best explorer in the game, the Carrack.
Yep.
You know, you've gone that high, go to the Carrack, or go back and get something less. You know.
Yep. And I always struggle with this. The thing I always struggle with the 600 is when the 600 came out, it was Origin saying, "Hey, this is the competitor to the Phoenix and Aquila. You know, we're showing you how to do luxury right, and that small scale. And yet you compare the Phoenix to the 600i, and like the 600i is like it dwarfs it. And so it really doesn't fit into how they said this ship was. It's not a competitor to the Connie size. It's a completely different animal.
I think it probably grew on concept, because that was before concept, and we've seen things grow. So yeah. But yeah.
So you know, it's for me it's a totally different ship. Doesn't fit the bill, but is it a tank? And it does have those heavy size 5 guns.
Is anyone noticing this really weird AI behavior?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I fly up, so he's flying up.
Mm-hmm.
What the?
Is it? Oh, is it like solve?
What the? It's almost like he's following my screen, not following what... Because the other thing was I was flying at a really high speed. He flew up and around me, was flying backwards while I was flying at full speed. It's almost like he cheats. It's not like he's not actually in the world. He's on my screen. Yeah, exactly, Shadowgo. That, like, he, as you said, he maintains position with me. That's really weird. Anyway.
Okay, so in answer to the question, 600i originally sold for, currently sells for 470 for the Explorer, 435 for the touring version. The original price was $400 for the touring version, for the Explorer, which means they're difficult to get. And you compare that to the Carrack, which came out significantly cheaper. Well, the Connie Aquila is $310. Came out at $275, and with the Connie Aquila, get an Ursa Rover 72. With the Explorer, you only get a G12. And then with the Carrack, you get a C8 and an Ursa. So, yeah. Why? If you know, apart from the heavier guns on the 600, if you're looking for, it's hard to go beyond that. And the only thing that I think makes the 600i better than is the fact that you've got pilot controlled guns. And flying a Carrack solo is not how you should be flying a Carrack. You know, you should be flying with crew. So yeah. So I hope that answered that question.
I'm just reading that response on Twitter, but I don't quite understand. Apparently saying the origins of Origins go back to Wing Commander? Really? Oh, okay. Alright.
I think there was some of the Origin ships originally came from Wing Commandery type names and other stuff.
Oh, okay.
So Shadow got another question for us.
Yep.
Just like the Hornet originally comes from, I think, the Avenger kind of have wing commandery. Shadow Girl has a question for us. She says, if CIG added a selection of melee weapons like swords, which specific weapons would you like to see added? Do you want a spear or maybe a trident, axes, katanas, horse? Well, I probably wouldn't want a katana. I'd probably go an axe. I've got, you know, I like my dwarven heritage. I like my vintage, my Vikings. So I'd probably go an axe. But what about you, X?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think of that gameplay. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I don't think they'd go much beyond a knife because, like, again, you're in the future and you're. Yeah, I just don't see it. You're thinking Star Wars aesthetic, and I just don't see that. Maybe if they ever ended up, you know, making a Star Wars version of the game, I could see that happening. Especially with the way this engine's going, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. But yeah, that's a lot of extra work if you think about it, because you've got to put in all the defenses postures, you know, all the different attacks. You've got to be able to all the collision as well. That's quite a bit different to just having a knife and it's stabby. You know, that's a.
Yep. But as Shadow Girl says in chat, she's not asking are they adding them or should they add them. The question is, if they added them, what would you want?
Okay, sorry, I heard that differently. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I guess lightsabers. I'll leave it at that.
But I could see a value if I were looking at melee weapons and stuff. I'd look at it in, okay, what else could I use it for? So I want a planet. I've got an axe. I can use it to chop wood for firewood, especially if I got stranded. If I've got a trident, I can use it near the rivers and go fishing. You're obviously a pirate, Skynet computer system. He wants a cutlass, a boarding cutlass. Now that could be a nice variant of a cutlass, to actually have one that actually had a boarding clamp, or, you know, like the old Roman. I could get behind that just because it would be a boarding cutlass.
Do you know, actually, you mentioned that. I was looking the other day, the Legionnaire's coming out next year. They're actually putting that in the game by, I think it was Q1, Q2 next year. I was surprised. Like, I know it's small, but, like, I think they want us to do boarding actions in Pyro is kind of where I'm thinking of. You correct me if you think I'm wrong. Like, think about what that entails, that ship, and what it brings. Why is it coming in so early? It just feels early. Maybe I'm wrong.
Certainly with the increase in player cap and the ability to have, you know, 100 people in a system.
Yeah.
Or in a server, it gives more gameplay for any of your carrier, any of your ship, multi-crew ships. It gives more gameplay for your troop carriers and your boarding craft. So yeah, boarding, you know, doing a boarding action on a hammerhead. You know, so you've got that scene where you've got the hammerhead crew kind of guarding that door and blasting into the door, and the crew coming in from the Legionnaire. Yeah, I could see that.
It's definitely one positive too of small ships over larger ships, is you tend to be, like, if they announce them, you tend to get them a lot sooner than if it's a big ship, because you're going to be waiting years to get them. But I do think the bigger ships will come thick and fast, so to speak, once they have those bigger ships teams spooled up. And once Squadron 42 is out the door.
Okay, so changing tack slightly.
Yep.
Astro Gumby has a question for us. He says, is the BMM with 24 months insurance at $250 worth buying back? Have some credits left and thought about using the BMM to upgrade into Pioneer or something larger.
Fortunately, you can't upgrade to the Pioneer, but at $250, I think Algared would also tell you insurance is really overrated for what it is. And when I interviewed Chris, he literally said, like, insurance to cover said ships or whatever you're doing, like, one mission would be probably enough to cover the ship for an entire month in real world time. You know,
and I can remember hearing Chris say that even on a 10 for the chairman.
Yeah.
In answering, you know, so he said that multiple times. The insurance is not meant to be something that gives a massive in-game advantage. It's only supposed to be a convenience.
So what
the lifetime insurance is a convenience.
Yeah, you gotta line up the benefit of what you're getting to the insurance and. Oh shit! I'm going way too fast. No! Stop!
And there he goes again.
God damn it! See, this is it's so hard to concentrate and fly at the same time.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yep.
Anyway.
That's why when I'm playing the game, I stop talking.
Yeah, and that's why I sometimes like tune out because I'm trying to fly at the same time. Yeah, I blame Gumby. It's all Gumby's fault.
Gumby's fault.
Yeah. What was the question?
It's about the 24-month insurance.
Yeah.
BMM.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really you got to look at it. $600. You're essentially saving like $350. Like $350 versus insurance. I think the $350 is more important.
And there is. I do think there is value in LTI, especially if you're someone who has lots. Or if you've got big ships. So the bigger the ship, the more valuable that LTI is, because it's just, you know, insurance will scale up for the ships.
Yeah,
but I would got a ship that they've upgraded.
You gotta. I would plan for the ship that you want to jump to, though. That is the tricky part, because I'm almost expecting the next time it jumps, it's going to jump considerably, because you got to look where it is. It's at $600 now. There's only a couple of ships there left that you can jump to. Because the highest jump being the Polaris. What ship do you want to go for, Gumby? Because you've basically got the
Pioneer.
Yeah,
Larger,
well, you've basically you've got Nautilus, Hammerhead, Polaris, Perseus, and A2. That's it, I think. Unless I'm wrong, you tell me if I'm wrong, Algared, but I don't think I'm wrong. I could be.
I don't think there's too many more.
Yeah,
we have got in count from LeCount. He says there is the patch is dropping in 15 minutes apparently.
There you go. I saw that coming.
So that's typical. We're doing our stream, so it'll come just as we're finishing up. So yeah, like I think it's in a sense you want to, if you can get LTI and a BMM, you want it.
Yeah.
But at $250, you like you said, you got to look at what the ship's valued at now, what ship you want, and is it worth having? And $250 for what they're selling as a $600 ship now, yeah, it's worth having.
You could also possibly sell it off to someone, if you don't want it yourself. So halfway between 250 and you might be able to sell it for $425 to someone, and that way
buying it back with credit. So that would
you wouldn't be able to do that. But if you bought it, if you brought it back with cash, you could sell it on to someone else. So maybe they just actually want the Banner Man. So yeah.
Yep. But he's looking at buying it back because he does have spare credit. So yeah, it's one of those things. There are options, but yeah. Moving on.
Yeah.
Next question from Voodoo Child says, and it's going back to discussions on the Atlas version. He says, but what special components would a cargo Atlas version need to be a money grab new vehicle?
I think just the versatility of the cargo would be appealing, because at the moment there's no real ground vehicle that has the cargo thing, is there? I think the mule's the closest thing we've got.
Yep.
And one of the things you and I said when we looked at that mule, it was really obvious to us there's something coming that carries bigger cargo containers, yeah?
Yep. And the fact that, and even the fact that it had the fuel pump, the fuel port. They're going to be limiting the fuel and the ships just like on the vehicles, just like they do ships. And so that energy management process is going to be, and I know they recently talked about even the oxygen supply or the life support on ships was going to be modified, which would mean you could no longer have 100 people on a ship. So resource management is a thing.
I guess you get less resource management when it comes to vehicles, though. Their only real constraint is the atmosphere they're in, I guess. in that regard.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're on an unbreathable atmosphere, then you've got your atmosphere and your energy. If you're on a place like Hurston or Microtech, then or even ArtCorp, you've got that ability to breathe the atmosphere. You've just got to worry about fuel or other stuff. But I think the ability to move stuff, we do know from some of the early gameplay examples they gave us, there'll be areas where the atmosphere is actually just preventing ships going, and so if you've got to deliver stuff, you'd need to be in a vehicle. So having a vehicle that can move stuff would have that as well. So yeah, it'd be nice to have portable life support generators, but I think even those will need a power source, and eventually if you run out of power source, your life support system, so there will be I think there's a certain level of energy management and survival that'll come into the game, but I don't think it's going to be anything like the really gritty, you must chop down this tree and then chop the tree into logs and then file logs into planks and then make your nails and nail, to build your cottage. I don't think they'll go that far. But hopefully visit.
I do think though that I would like to see things like someone that does collect wood, and that wood is a resource that's sold on the market. But yeah, it's to the level that they want to do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And supply and demand, I'd imagine there's less supply for wood than there would be for contanium.
You are clear to launch.
I think wood would be more of the local communities.
Or rare woods, going out and looking for a very specific tree, or
so you can actually sell it off to the luxury manufacturers so they can put wood in your ships, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
So yeah. Moving on for Voodoo's question. Ace Hambone says, if crash ships were to become persistent, can't we just crash one of our large ships to make a base?
Thank you. And please visit again.
Well, that's what happened with the Olympus, although they didn't crash it to make a base. They crashed it fighting pirates, and then the pirates basically massacred the crew, and one of the fighter squadrons fought to the last to defend their mates, and the pirates then basically took over the place and turned it into a base. So yes, you could do that, but that's pretty hard, and how damaged is your base going to be? As I was reading your question, Ace, I thought you were going to say, couldn't I just crash my ship and then salvage it? But yeah.
Well, you'd have to assume you don't get as much of your money back.
Yeah, and I think you'd there is the insurance fraud stuff. So
yeah.
I'd rather land my ship and use it as a base, and then be able to take it off later if I wanted to. The Omega, it is the best looking Mustang of the lot, I think, and it's just that skin. The red just pops. Primal Moz has a question. He says, you always say earn down. If you have a bigger mining ship, get rid of a smaller one, but I ponder if you have an Orion, having the Prospector might help you when you can't get a crew.
Yeah, but yeah, keep going, Algared. We hear this all the time, the if, buts, maybes. But yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Look, I think with the Orion, earning down still wins. I think it is still perfect. Still a really good way to go. With the Orion not out yet, you get a Prospector and a Mole to use at the present anyway, which is by far a better option in the now gameplay. And I think in the then gameplay, a couple of mates, or even you and an NPC, I think would be probably able to do an Orion, which currently has a min crew of 5 who do
Algared, I'm gonna cut over the browser and I'm gonna let this image do my talking. Is that on the screen?
Yep.
There's the Prospector. There's the Orion. Which one do you reckon is gonna make more money? And do you know how quickly you'll be able to do one mission in that Orion and buy that Prospector? That basically makes the
an asteroid completely and then sell the stuff.
It makes the $150 value of that prospector just totally redundant. You could literally probably do, you know, a couple of missions and have a whole fleet of prospectors, but you can't do the inverse. And that's my whole point. If you had, so what is it? Let's just say, I know it's 575, but let's just say 600 to round it out, right? So that would be literally 4 prospectors. There is no way 4 prospectors scales to the same size as that Orion. It's just not physically possible. One saddlebag on that thing is it's like 2 prospectors.
Not saddlebag, you're the prospector.
So when you see it in scale like this, it is so clear what we're trying to tell you.
Yep.
We're not saying it to be arseholes. Like we like the Prospector. It's a fun ship. What we're trying to say is from a monetarily value, we're just trying to get you more bang for your buck, guys. That's all we're trying to do.
Yep. And look, we get that getting crew at times will, you know, might be difficult. But I expect, and I'm pretty certain Execute has the same thought.
Oh, I think we look. He's going to come back in a flurry. You watch this. Nope, he's gone. He'll be back. And I have no idea. There he is. He's back. You're back. You're back. What was the quote? What were you saying?
I have no doubt that you'll be able to do pickups, and you'll be able to gauge or look at people's, you know, ranking in terms of their guild affiliation in the Miners Guild. So if you pair up with someone and they end up backstabbing you and reporting you to pirates, and you know, and pirate buds come and get you, you know, you're not going to give them a good ranking, and so they're going to get, you know, other people aren't going to do it. You're going to know who you can trust and who you can't. So I think you're going to be able to do pickup games and pick up crew elsewhere. You're going to be able to have pick up NPC crew to help you as well. So I don't think I can't get a crew is going to be as bad as all that. At least I hope not, because I'll be
even
screwed.
then, just like the mole, how you can go out in the mole and you can solo it, you can technically jump through, you know, if you've got to jump to 5 to 8 different stations in a ship, you can technically pull it off. And again, you're not sharing that profit with anyone, so it's a lot more profit if you do it on your own, and that will be enough money. You've only got to do it once to go out and get the Prospector if that's what you wanted with an Orion. You know, it is possible. It's difficult, but it is possible.
But yeah, so if you're looking at but when you're really looking at the mining, if you're looking at going, if you're someone who really wants to get into, and that is your jam, then you know, having an Orion is the thing. I think when John did his Fix My Fleet, he ended up saying, yep, okay, I've got to get an Orion.
John was one of the most resistant people to losing that Prospector. Like, he loves his Prospector.
I think he's still got a Prospector, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he's got it as a loaner, right? And that's how we kind of explained to him. You get it as a loaner, but it will eventually turn into a much bigger ship. And once he understood the concept of just, he can go out and do one mission on day one and he's got his Prospector back, he's like, oh yeah. Like, once he understood the concept, it's just, it sounds very foreign to say, I love ship A, but I should buy the much bigger ship C, you know, and it doesn't compute. It really doesn't compute. But when you understand what we're saying is it's just a delay of a day, and you work that through, and you go, I'm getting value of 10 times, plus I get both ships essentially because I can earn this one very, very quickly, it just becomes a real no-brainer. Like, it just seems foreign. But once you understand the concept, it's not.
Well, it is foreign.
It is.
But I think also what Chris said when he was talking about ships early on, and again on 10th of Chairman, I can remember him saying this, and I know you've had him say this when you spoke to him years ago as well, and it was the price of ships. You know, you think of an Aurora being like a family sedan. Your Idris is like a aircraft carrier in terms of real pricing. And so down the track, the in-game price of those ships is going to be through the roof.
Yeah, you've also got to think logistically too, because something like a Kraken or an Idris, is for an org. So you're having so many more people saving trying to get that. But if you look at something like a prospector, that's a one-man operation. So a one-man person has to be able to save for it. But they've scaled it at the moment so one person can buy a Kraken. You know, and they literally talked about that multiplying by up to 10 times for an Idris was his example that he gave.
And then you've got to apply that to your Orion. Your Orion is really, you know, it is for an org or a small group of friends.
Was it 5 to 8?
Price, but the price, but the price is going to be in that same category of increased value. And the Reliant is, to join the chat, the Reliant is your Reliant. At least that's what I always said. But yeah, so we get the argument, but when we're looking at value for money and making your dollar work better for you, for us it just seems a no-brainer.
Not just us anymore either, too. Like, so many people have gone through this now. Like, double-checked our shit, checked it themselves, and it's not... This is not just us anymore. This is multiple people saying this now, so it just makes logical sense. And, But people need to be convinced. I get it. You're spending large amounts of money, and we're kind of almost in a weird way encouraging you to spend more. We're not really encouraging you to spend more. We're just saying take the same amount and spend it better. I think that's the better way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and I suppose take what you've spent now and use it to get the ships that will better support the things you say you want to do. So. And yes, it is looking, you know, it is looking end game rather than the current. But there is an element where that also comes into it as well. So you know, you look at the I often say look at the loaner ships when you're looking at those big ships as well. And that, but that's our thoughts. I know it can be hard and it is a good question to ask, Primal, and it's one that every person has to weigh up for themselves. And you know, it might be, well, you really want the prospector to be able to help you, and okay, well, buy your Orion now while you can.
It's also very oh shit! I looked at the chat screen. I looked straight back and pressed
you know. I would say...
I was just going to say it's very contradictory to the now versus later as well, because you when you've got one big ship, you're kind of limited. You know, it sounds very cool to have multiple ships now and you can do more stuff, but you can also plan for that. We've shown ways you can plan for it. You can have that CCU and leave the big gap and...
But I think even if you had the Orion, I think the big value there is, even if you decide I'm still going to buy that prospector. The fact that you've got the Orion and you get that loanership of the prospector and the mole, get your Orion, which is awesome, and then when the Orion finally comes out, pick up your prospector, which still only El Cheapo in comparison, whereas the Orion's going to go up in price. In real world money and in-game money. So even if you pay cash for your prospector in the end, I would still say getting the Orion now is the better option. But
we're already seeing that with ship disparity already. Like I don't know if they sell it here at New Deal, but like you get ships. So I'm just going to use some examples of ones that I know. So the Hurricane's $195, and it's about 1.2 million in game. Then you look at, say, something like the Carrack at the complete opposite end of the scale. So it's 3 times the price, right? So you'd assume, just based on logic, that it would be what 3.6 mil. Yeah, that makes. It's like 26 million. And when you start doing that, now you start to see why we've been trying to talk about value, you know, and how, and you start to look at seeing some other ships that, like, when you look at, say, something like the Eclipse, you know, it's half the price of the Carrack, but it's not you know, all those combat ships are way overpriced for what they are. And that's all we've been trying to do, is just let you guys know that you are sometimes paying a lot more for a ship that'll be actually very easily obtainable in game. And you know, even things like, and some of the worst ones when it comes to price, because they're so big, are things like the Perseus. We warn people about that stuff, because you are essentially almost paying double for what that ship's worth, you know.
And you know, and it's also learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, learn from. You know, I'll be honest. If I've got any buyer's remorse, the fact that I invested a lot early on. Not because I'm cheesed off with what I've got, but because if I'd bought the same things now, using war bond CCUs and LTI tokens, I'd probably have the same things for significantly less.
So in chat there, Marchant Engineering says everyone needs to think of the Inforunners as financial advisors. You don't need to take their advice, but they need to advise you correctly. That is 100% correct. That's exactly as I see it as well. You don't have to take our advice, but we have to advise people correctly.
But if we're saying what best value for bang for buck, you know, we've got to say, well, these are the reasons why we recommend it. But then you do what you want. Anyway, we've done that to death.
Yes.
So
sorry. Move on.
Move on.
Sandgroper's reminding me I've Big Bada Boom 3 times. Yep. Thanks, Sandgroper. Always there for the memes. Thanks.
Yep. We always like Execute crashing for the memes.
Oh, dear.
Ace Handbone has, do you think that the space between star systems will make for good hideout? No, because I don't think we can get there.
What was the last question? Sorry?
It was, do you think the space between star systems will make for good hideouts?
And
the space between star systems is in the jump points, so I can't see how we're going to get there.
They did, yeah, I think they talked about, could you physically fly between two places, and I think that might be the place where they start to draw the line, because, like, there'll be just so much empty space there, and what is the benefit of being able to, like, stream between the two locations? Technically, it's probably not that much different than doing it between two planets. But think about the actual time. You can't, even if you could warp, like where you lock on and warp to somewhere, it would be still far slower than, like, you know, when people were flying. Do you remember back in the day where people would, like, take 2 days to fly physically from Yella to Crusader? It'll be far longer than that, even at warp.
Like, I think...
Yeah.
If you're really after those places on the edge, you'd probably be better off going to the edge of the system and flying out beyond the last place in the system as far as you could, you know, and then you flying, you know, half a day or whatever it is. So yeah, you might be able to do that, but then you're so isolated.
It might be a good place for a base, though. I could see that if you have a beacon out there. Just because anyone that doesn't have the beacon would have to physically fly for like 2 days to get there. I could totally see that as a thing.
You know, randomly placed, and people finding it is going to be, you know, a bit like I used to play Hellion. And you know, you could have your base, you know, could salvage ship and build your base really close, but anyone could see you. You could go way out, and then if you were way out, you know, you couldn't be found as easily. But you were also further away from resources. You were further away from the sun, so you couldn't use solar panels as well.
That's literally what I was going to say, though. At the end of the day, don't you want a base that's kind of guarding some resources or something of worth? If you're just literally just hiring, then everything's upkeep. You need something to bring the prices down or make it of merit and worth. So yeah.
You know, and there might be a value for having it out in the sticks where no one is, because that means you're at least not being raided. But then the time to get to the resources you need might be. So, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen at the other end, I think. But no, I don't think the space between star systems will make it a good base.
I'm curious to know how big the patch is. Can anyone tell me how roughly big the update is for 17.2? I just don't like downloading while streaming because it might, like, we'll go a little scatty. But we could go have a quick look if it...
So the K9 Music says, do you expect another wipe with 318? we get wipes when we get
Your
wiped when they
vehicle
need them.
has been delivered to the
Mm.
following location.
I don't care about wipes. If we get a wipe, it's frustrating, annoying, and everything else. But the advantage is it means you basically start with a clean slate again. So, and it's not the game. Nothing matters at the moment, whether it's. So yeah. So if we get a wipe, we get a wipe. If we don't get a wipe, awesome. What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go the whole nature of development thing, and if they've got to wipe it, they've got to wipe it. Because again, at the moment, this whole PTU is just pretty lights and distractions, so they can make the game. You know, like, do you really think it's taken this long at the speed that they've done stuff? No, it's because they're working on this completely other game that they never tell us anything about. That for me is the annoying part. I actually would have liked to have known a bit more about Squadron 42, and I think there's things that they could have told us that, you know, you guys, like a movie trailer. A good movie trailer will hype you up for a movie, but not give anything away of the storyline. And yes, there are some really bad movie trailers that totally ruin the storyline. So for me, they could have struck a really good balance. And do you remember a couple of years ago, Algared, they showed that thing about the flight deck on the Idris for Squadron 42? Do you remember that? And they were talking about how they made all the signals and stuff like that. That's a really great example of stuff that they could show off for Squadron 42. And it would have just been really nice if they had more things like that. And that's been, I think that was like 2-3 years ago now. And that was the last kind of thing. And I even said at the time, I'd love some more stuff like that. And I know you agreed with me.
Look, I think seeing any of that stuff, just adds to the game. But I see what you're saying. You know, like game development, they're going to need to do it, and I take that view. You know, if they need to wipe, they wipe, and if you don't like it, don't play it. You know, just and yeah, they are working on the other game, but what we've got, as you said, is the game to play for now.
Yeah.
And if they weren't constantly doing a gameplay loop, I imagine we'd actually have they'd actually be able to work faster, because they're kind of doing two things at the same time. But there is an advantage for them in having the PTU as they get this massive, and even in the PU they get this massive test base, and that is a huge advantage for them. So, and it looks like your camera's frozen.
Yeah, it has. I've already turned it off. I'm waiting for it to do. Dell's saying the Centurion is 110, 95 war bomb. That's right about where I expected it to be, under the ballista. Above the Spartan. Yeah, that's pretty much spot on what I was expecting. Excuse Algared's little bit of bad camera. That's my fault, because I'm downloading the patch.
See what happens when he downloads.
Yeah. So Algared goes all shitty.
I've gone blurry mode.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm still look awesome.
If anyone asked though, it's just because Algared took his glasses off. That's why it's all blurry. Okay. Right?
Yeah. No, you all need glasses. That's generally what I feel when I don't have my glasses on. Contact lenses in. And yes, I do wear the contact lenses for streaming, so you don't get the lights shining on the screen. So Sergeant Pumpkin says, at what point will CIG stop giving us updates, sneak peeks, to really allow people doing exploration gameplay to explore and really find something nobody knew was there, or something new?
Sorry, say that again.
So at what point do you think CIG will stop giving us updates, sneak peeks, to really allow people to doing exploration gameplay to explore and really find something new nobody knew was there? Like think of Pyro and the outpost on Pyro. So we've been getting the outpost on Pyro.
I think even they might show us somewhere, but we still don't actually, you know, because they're all procedurally made, that, you know, they're putting out 50 different outposts or whatever. They're only really showing one, or they're showing the assets that they use for it. They're not really super giving it away. And
well, we haven't seen any of the stations that are still there in Pyro. We haven't, we've seen one outpost. So, and I think it's showing us the stuff they've got on the planets, or showing us the stuff that they're putting in the planets. Certainly, the from the ISC today, where they're saying, "Oh, putting the rivers in," that certainly didn't tell us where the rivers were. That was just saying, "Hey, here's an example." So yeah, I like seeing the sneak peeks. Doesn't really matter if they show me where it is. Not really. It depends on, but it does depend on other things as well. And yeah.
I don't know why I can't get my camera to come back on.
Because you're still downloading, maybe, I don't know.
Why would the download affect my? All right, I'll pause the download. Why would Why would the download?
I don't know.
affect my
Hey,
camera?
I was just clutching at straws. You never know. Jiggle cable.
Strange.
So yes, people. I did see comments of execute. It's been 2 years. Get a new camera.
Yeah, but the new camera's really, really expensive. They are.
Yeah, that's right.
They're like $2,000. Like they're a lot of money, right? I just unplugged the USB port. Hopefully.
Yep. So.
There we go. I'm back.
There you go. So yes, new cameras are expensive.
And it's some kind of weird issue. Like it's either the thing that we use to connect the power that makes them run, or it's just overheating or something. And I don't think it's the overheating, because it's not physically hot. Like you can touch it everywhere, and it's like lukewarm at best. And it doesn't seem to run different in winter or summer, where you'd assume in summer it would run worse than it does. So I think it's either the battery or it's either the power adapter thing we used, and I brought two of them, and they both, like, two new ones, and they both work slightly differently, but they're very cheaply made. There's not much to them, but I just can't find a good one. So they're called a fake battery adapter, and they used to make an official one, and they don't make the official one anymore. You just can't buy it. I remember
you can. They still make it. It's just you just can't. They just don't make enough of it. It's just in high demand. That's just.
Well, I remember when you got yours. You brought one.
I had it for about 11 months on order.
Yeah.
And in the end, I cancelled it.
Yeah, and we just brought you a third party one.
And they were cheaper one.
So yeah, but again, unless you guys can find a camera that does 4K like this, that's reasonably cheap. I haven't been able to find one. This is the cheapest one that we could find, and this is done through a trick. It's done by using certain software, and that's kind of why it has issues and stuff.
That's why I often freeze. If I switch programs, I freeze and sometimes it just drops out temporarily. I think that might be more the internet end on that. But yeah, it's just one of those things we do deal with. We're using the Canon M50 EOS Mark 1. Yeah. Is what we're using. And there are better cameras out there. But this was the cheapest at that kind of that goal, and they were still quite expensive.
Like I know Croncy got a new camera recently, and Paul got a new one recently. And just to look up the ones that they got, I think Paul's was like it was like $1,800 Australian, and I think Croncy got an older one, like a 5-year-old camera, and his was like $1,600. So I like to do it in 4K and scale it down because it's crisper. And if I actually and Algared is the same, and he'll tell you as well, if you put it at 1080p, you can see the difference in the video. It is noticeably clearer when you downscale it. So yeah.
And I'm still suffering the slight blurriness. Are you still downloading or?
Yeah, I just turned the download on again. So we've got 3 gig to go. We've done a gig, so we'll see.
So yeah, but that's people say what do you use Patreon support for? Well, that's the type of thing we use Patreon support to upgrade equipment.
But that's a lot of patronage,
and that's a lot of investment. And and
That's-
even if we want to get a camera, I think we've said the next equipment purchase we're doing is to actually help
Badges. Yeah, so Badges was using a piece of software and his phone, and he looked almost as good as me and Algared. So I'm almost more inclined to go, yeah, let's go get a mobile phone and that software than buy a camera, because it would work out cheaper. Plus we get a phone out of it. But yeah, his was going really well, but his phone died and they're taking forever to repair it, and that's what's causing the issue. So I'd you know, the other options are things like GoPros and stuff like that. But you know, I don't know if there's any of you out there that are very camera savvy, that if you know, if you've got an option out there that that we're not aware of, please reach out and let us know, because I would love to be able to, you know, get the quote, like, especially to help Badges and just fix this issue, because it does it again, and it does get worse. It does feel like it's an overheating issue on the power adapter. That's just,
and you're frozen again, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I just said. But yeah,
I think that might be having an issue with the downloadee. I don't know. It shouldn't have, but
no, it's not. It's got nothing to do with the download.
Anyway.
It's just that we've been running for 3 hours, and I think the power adapter is now overheating.
Well, let's get through. Okay, so I'm going to say we're not taking any more questions, guys. Still got 50 million to go.
Okay.
So let's try rapid fire some of these questions to find out where we are. So Hayes ×3 says, ever play Mech Warrior or BattleTech? They had good system for building your mech.
They did.
I played the board game, the miniatures version.
I had a lot of friends that played BattleTech. What was it? Sorry, what did it say? The
Mech Warrior.
Mech Warrior. Sorry, Mech Warrior. I had a lot of friends that played Mech Warrior. Yeah, I did play them. I didn't play them extensively though. They weren't quite my thing back in the day.
Okay. Namek has a question. He says, do you guys have time to do an FMF episode with me? Can suggest that I do an episode instead of just asking in Discord.
Lemming reached out and said you might need one, so yeah, we'll definitely have a look at that for you. But
get in contact with us. We'll organise a time and do that. It's never just a straight up video. Fix my fleet. We do the talk with you beforehand, and basically, you know, the show is actually just a summary of what we've done with you. So
yeah, some of the really more difficult ones in the past, like I know there's ones that we've done over multiple days with people, and then there's like real hardcore sessions where we just knock it out in one go, but they still take like 5 hours, you know. So it's not a simple process. It's not a one.
It's not just sell all this, just get yourself an Orion, you know, an Endeavour, Crucible, and this.
It is when they're easy. but then you know,
that's never easy. Come on.
Yeah, well, someone's got to dance around 5 packs, and you know,
and then there's always I forgot I've got this pack.
Yeah, or something like
I've got this amount of credits, or I've got this, or I've got this ship, or I've got I've got these CCUs,
or I won't buy a Drake ship that's purple, you know, or something like that. It just sometimes it's some weird stuff that people have, but yeah, we just got to. It's fully custom, every single one. So yeah.
All right. Quintillion has a question. When do you think we will see the Apollo series come into verse when they're ready?
Actually, that's on the roadmap for next year, I believe. I could be mistaken. Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure that was on the roadmap. Do the next question. We'll come back to that one if that's okay.
So Skynet Computer Systems says, has CIG stated anything about external fuel tanks for extended range of smaller ships? Don't think I can recall them saying that, but doesn't mean they have or haven't.
Didn't they have something about the
But I did think there was something somewhere where there was something, maybe, possibly, but that's really, you know.
I thought it was the Hornet that had something like that, didn't it? But,
yeah. I think the Hornet may have, or something did, or I think in lore maybe a ship's had external tanks or something like that. But
so yeah, just real quick, Q1 for the Apollo, by the look of it.
So Q1 next year it's on the roadmap, and it looks like the bar says they're working on it from now up till so.
just started in July till then next year. So yeah.
Apple Crow has a question. First thing to buy in game, my plan is the fastest quantum travel drive. So what's the first thing you're going to buy in game, or would recommend to buy in game?
Depends what ship I want to take up on the day. I'll probably be playing with a group of friends. You know, we might take out an Orion, we might take out a Reclaimer. It depends what the group wants to do.
And even just looking at saying, "Oh, I'll get the fastest quantum travel drive," can be misleading, because if you do that and you're in Pyro, that might give you an awesome quantum travel drive, but it's also going to significantly limit where you can go because it's going to burn more fuel. So you might not want to have that fastest quantum travel drive. Going slower may actually be significantly better in that regard.
Might want a better laser for your mining. You might want to, it depends what the ship is. What you're doing. That's a very loaded question.
It's a very tough one, and it really does depend on what you need and what you have and how you're going there.
I mainly can't answer that though, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be playing in a group.
Okay, PC has a question. Why is CIG removing all the low end packs but not add any packs that are not starter packs? So hang on. Why is CIG removing all the low end packs but not adding any new packs that are not starter packs?
Hey, Jaxie.
It's finances.
Say hello. Hello.
Marketing. Your response to that execute. Short and sweet.
Packs are bad. So you for a long time were a real big fan of packs, but I think as time's gone on, they've got worse and worse.
Look, I still think there are value in packs, but the fact that you can do a Warbond CCU ship, or a couple of Warbond CCU ships, or a couple of LTI token ships, and then Warbond CCU them, and get those ships for cheaper than you'd have got them in the pack. Yeah. I think kind of nullifies or most packs in game. If you already got the packs, it's a bit hard because you're screwed. But yeah.
And from the outset, like a lot of the new, that was the disturbing thing for me, is that so many new people came in and they'd brought packs because I will save money. So they think they're saving heaps of money when they get packs, but really they're just locking themselves into difficulties that we've had to get them out of.
I have to say, I think it was Dell who said today they bought a pack. They bought the Endeavour pack, not the Endeavour pack. They bought a pack with with a discount coupon, and using discount coupons for packs is a really bad. I've done it in the past, but that's a really bad thing, because if you melt anything you buy with a discount coupon, you lose the value of a discount coupon. So
sorry, I'm being
buy things with discount coupons with the things you actually want to. You keep. Otherwise, you're tossing it out.
I'm being cock-blocked by my cat. He's sitting on the mouse.
Captain Carrot has a question.
You have to move.
Wasn't the Endeavour $250? Has it gone up in price? My memory is it was always $350. I don't think the Endeavour
Why are you
has
being
gone
a
up in
pain in the
price.
bum? Why are you being a pain in the bum?
So X, do you remember the price of the Endeavour?
$350. Always been $350. Never changed.
Always been $350. Yep. Always been $350. That's the standalone Endeavour with none the parts. But Discovery was always $425. The Endeavour Hope has always been $450, and the Endeavour Olympic has always been $450. They have not gone up in price at all. Apple Crow Execute. The ground is coming up pretty fast there. Yes, he realised that. That was
slightly delayed.
All right. Slightly delayed. It just shows how far back in the questions we are.
You can't.
Captain Carrot has another question. If you buy a ship back from buyback with cash, is it giftable? Yes. Sangroper question: with a massive update in the development tools related to rivers, will we start seeing more missions based around rivers? What type of missions, new or old, could we see? I'd like to see more missions. We could have fishing missions. We could have.
I think
go
he's
collect
right
water
there
samples.
because swimming was added to the roadmap.
Yep.
Yeah.
It would be cool to have, go collect water samples because we want to make sure we're not polluting the area too much, or X is polluting the water. We need the evidence of this.
Mm. I just want to watch dead bodies float downstream. Let's be honest, you know. It'd be kind of
Yeah,
cool.
well, you're evil. So there's lots of options there. I think the development of a real tool really just makes it easier for them to develop to the things they had in that tool. The advances really made it easier for them to add multiple rivers very quickly. And I think that was the advantage that we were seeing there. Shadow Girl has a question for you, Execute.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you flying without a joystick? Preference? Or have you tried a joystick? Or
I've had many offers for joysticks. I'm just not a fan.
there you go, preference. Okay. LaCount has a question. Is a fully crewed mole more profitable than for prospectors?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think I'd go with what John Citizen's done in the past. He very rarely will. He'll take his mole out if he's teaching someone mining. Otherwise, he'll take a prospector out because certainly as a one-man ship, it's harder.
Yep.
And more frustrating. And multiple prospectors can actually break the big.
I just want to comment on something here.
Well.
I don't know if you can notice this, but the textures on these skins have been turned up. They're higher resolution than they were previously. They've definitely updated some of this shit.
Yep. Well, they did talk about. I think one of the things they did do was change up the character generation-y map, the way the blending and all that was working. So I think they did do something, but I can't remember when they did it. So
yeah, it's definitely going up a notch.
So yeah, I think the cat for prospectors would probably be as gives you more options to loot to do stuff, but it's also 4 separate ships. Whereas so it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Certainly, if you can only buy one ship, then you'd buy a mole. I don't think you certainly couldn't buy 4 prospectors for the price of a mole. So, yeah. Captain Carrick, he has a question. He says, I asked it again, and yes, the answer is yes. Buy back with cash, it is giftable. Just make sure there's no credits in that purchase. Cascadian, why the seeming lack of modularity in regards to new products? Why aren't the Atlas variants being sold as modules instead? Because you can make more money.
That's at the end of the day, they do have to fund the project. And at the moment, because they've got so many hands on deck trying to get Squadron 42 out the door, if they can just keep the vehicles coming. Wow, I crashed on live. Wow.
Yep.
Didn't even get loaded in. Yeah.
If you can keep the vehicles coming and have something new come out that I can sell for $100 or $95 war bond instead of a module that I can sell for $10 war, $20. Theoretically, the idea is theoretically they'll make more money.
And they tested the water, didn't they, with the Retaliator modules, and they realized that they could just make more money by selling a full-fledged ship as opposed to modules. So that's where the way they went.
But the other thing, and then I recall there's a story I heard via Paul, I think, and he was talking about when the Argo got pushed forward for the
vote.
The ship of the year for the vote, and it was winning. The marketing guy was beside him. He was frustrated because it was ruining our marketing plan.
But then he learned something
until he realised
volume.
He sold a shitload of those ships.
Yeah, they made it up on volume. essentially.
So,
yeah.
we didn't sell the big ship, but we've sold so many of those little ships. He's suddenly turned around.
Yeah.
And I think that was an impact of, so.
It's a positive impact because it not just taught them we were slightly annoyed, but it also taught them that ships do sell that they don't think will sell, and stuff like that. Like, put it this way, they wouldn't have sold any of those ships if that vote hadn't happened, as in the MPUV. It was brought to people's attention because of that.
Yeah.
And it is a good little ship. We
it's a great little ship, and the fact that they gave it LTI for its, the winning ship, it just went through. The sales just went through the roof because it was also not only an awesome little taxi cab, but it's also a great little LTI token. That was from Cascadian, by the way. Black Dream Hunk says, I went on CIG Twitch channel, asked the question, is the 890 jump an exploration ship? The CIG mod for Twitch was trying to tell me the 890 jump isn't an exploration ship. I replied, well, Yacht Club agrees with me. I was banned from Twitch CIG channel. That kind of abuse.
Yeah, the mods are a bit overzealous. They always have been.
The mods have always been overzealous. Although that's a CIG Twitch, so I can't comment for that. But
yeah, I can't comment specifically on the Twitch, but like, there's a reason why I don't go to Spectrum anymore.
And just because they're a mod doesn't mean they know shit.
Yeah. Just generally speaking, just don't argue with mods, and I would say that almost any community, just don't argue with people. Don't come to our channel and argue with our mods. We've got our mods, kill them. We've got our mods, you ban them. If they're arguing, if you say don't do this and they start arguing, you ban them. Don't do it. Yeah. So maybe that's what they've been told. They've just said, if people argue with you, just
ban them. But I used to argue the 890 jump. It is a touring ship. It's not and touring is an aspect of exploration, but it's not an exploration in the same vein that a. Can you guys
hear that on the stream? There's some guy in game yelling, and I'm loading in, and I can hear him yelling.
Nope.
It's weird. All right. Well, you probably can't hear it, but they probably can. So we'll see.
I'm lucky then.
Yeah, they can hear it. They can hear it. Yeah. Sorry.
So the 890 jump is supposed to have the second best scanners in game in terms of it's got the same scanners that are. Well, I think it's supposed to have the same scanners that a Carrack has, which makes it the second best explorer in terms of that category. It does have its cargo bay for vehicles and cargo. It does have room for snub ships. It does have room for crew. But is it specifically a ship that's designed for exploration? No. It's not a ship that was designed specifically for mapping.
I think we would agree that touring is a version of exploring, but you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, right? My version of touring is it's more short range. It's not out in the black like a Carrack. It's comfortably and safely going around the local system.
It's going sightseeing in the same way that if I go to the States and I go, and I go to San Antonio and I'm exploring San Antonio and exploring, I'm going to places I haven't seen, but it's not going off a beaten track and trying to trailblaze an area. Totally different forms of exploration there. But I wouldn't say it's not exploration. It's just not exploration like a Carrack.
Yeah.
And
good evening. It's almost lunchtime. What are you talking about?
Yep. It is.
Good evening to you, Sue.
Getting close to lunchtime.
Yeah.
Last two questions.
Cool.
Astro Gumby says, we already covered. All right, so we already covered that question for you guys. I'm not sure what question you're referring to, but thank you for.
Yeah, try and always put your questions in context because we may read them like half an hour later. So,
or an hour later, as the case may be.
Yes.
And the last, or even put the comments in context if you're writing a question, so we know what you're referring to. And Captain Carrot says, sorry to repeat the question. I didn't realise you hadn't got got to them through. I thought you'd missed it, so I asked again. No,
No
we will.
problem.
We do make an effort to answer every question that comes through on our stream.
Yeah, we just take our time doing it.
And because we talk so much and go off on tangents and
We do.
other things, it may take us a while, but we do try to answer every question you ask us. And if we don't get to it and there's a massive line, we've gone through and we've actually, we'll answer them and then post the questions up on YouTube. So, so yeah, we do try to make sure we answer every question. But you guys ask us, because if you're going to be daft enough to sit the time with us while we mull or wax lyrical on Star Citizen, then we're going to be daft enough to answer every single question you ask us. That might be a no or a yes, but we will take the time. Because if you're going to spend your time with us, we will spend our time answering the questions you ask. So, yeah. So that's the end of our questions. We got through every one of them. It only took us almost 3.5 hours or so. But I think on that note, X, it's time for us to say goodbye.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna. I was hoping to get into this, but
into the game before we had to go. But let's see if we can. We'll give it a few more minutes.
Yeah. We're obviously gonna have a show this week as well.
Yep.
Well, I do have to. I have somewhere I've got to be. I've got to get my. So they've got to rewrap this wound thing. Hey, we're in. Every day. Sorry. So I've got a nurse coming to my home in the next half an hour to do that. Okay, it already runs worse than the PTU.
Yeah, but that's always the case.
It's always the case.
It's just gone live, so it's going to have every man and his dog in here.
Yep.
So, is there anything you didn't know?
No. I'm saying the obvious, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. And I'm just pointing out,
So, yeah. Alright, we'll just go check the ship console because I want to make sure all my ships are there because it was really weird in the PTU. I didn't have all my ships. Like I didn't have the Carrack as an example. Like they just like randomly selected 10 ships and gave me the 10 they wanted to give me, which kind of annoys me because like, why should you be punished for having more ships than other people? I found that kind of strange.
Yeah, well, I've had times where I've turned up and my ships are missing.
Did they only give you 10 in the PTU as well?
No, I think I had everything.
Yeah, I was missing heaps of shit.
But I've gone into PU sometimes and there's half my ships are missing, so So yeah, it's just sometimes a glitch happens and other times it. But
there's definitely a noticeable frame rate dip though, on live compared to the PU. Like if you guys just saw me run through this area 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, but I also didn't see 2 other people on the train with you.
Oh man, it's noticeably higher textures, like in the face.
Yeah,
it's really noticeable. Yeah.
That 3 people on the bus on the train with you.
Yeah, they're definitely
so significantly more people playing at the moment.
Yeah, even that guy's face is more noticeable.
Yeah, that guy's face isn't.
Well, he got a mask on.
Yeah, no, that's why it's not noticeable.
Yeah, even on this screen, oh, that's good. Good to see a little update. And why am I carrying it about the face so much? Because one of the most where your eyes go on a person is the face, right? And in fact, when you model characters, you put more. I remember back in the day, we'd have more polygons in the face than we would on the rest of the body sometimes, because that's where everyone, you put the polygons where people are looking. So yeah.
Yeah, or where you want the focus to be, because they'll pop.
Especially with textures, you'd have the entire texture of the entire character, right? And a quarter of it would be just the face, because that's where they'd be looking. The bottom of the foot would be nothing, because you never look at the bottom of the foot.
Yeah, I can remember watching a game and watching people run, and it was just this flat kind of disc, rather than when you looked at the face, it was always felt 3D.
Yeah, no,
Not
now
talking Star Citizen, but talking other
we're talking
old MMOs.
we're talking back in the day where a texture for an entire character was like 256 by 256 pixels or bigger than that. But now you get multi 2K based images for a character and stuff like that, and you got multiple maps and stuff like that, and they can break a character up over multiple textures and stuff like that. And I guarantee in this game it's over multiple textures because of the way the pieces of armor and that work and stuff like that. All right, so now we're back to a proper list of ships.
And just going back to the people who did ask about the arm, he slept on the arm, he kind of sprained it, or thought he'd sprained it. It just kept getting worse. He came to Sydney for the Bar Citizen. I think on the day he rang me up and said, "Oh man, my arm." I've gone to the doctor, and we've gone to several med centres just to try and work out what's going on.
That was the day after, but yes.
And you said, I'm going to have to go to the the hospital.
Actually, no, you were right. That was the day before. No, I'm wrong, and you're right. Yeah.
And you came and I think I saw the arm on the day, and you didn't have it in the sling, but it was really red and swollen and sore. And by the end of the night, you had it back in the sling when we were going.
If I could, if I wouldn't gross you out, I would show you. But there's literally like a big cut here. Wait, if I can. Yeah, it's like a big cut here, and it's about this long. Yeah, it's not pleasant. And there's only one stitch in it. They kind of left it open, so it's healing from the bottom up to push the infection out of my body, essentially. So yeah.
Yeah. So.
I just realised I did that on the wrong screen, but that's all good.
That's probably good. You don't want to gross everyone out.
No, I just wanted to show us the size of it. That's all. All right then. Well, we'll do a show this weekend. Don't know what it's going to be. We'll figure it out. And we'll see you guys again next week. I do thank you for all being here, because we've obviously been really kicked around by the algorithm, as we said earlier. We've probably got less than 100 people than usual, but that's just the nature of how YouTube is. They, you miss anything and they kick you in the nuts. That's just how it happens.
Just to cut in terms of the questions about the arm. He doesn't know. The doctors don't really know why his arm went wacko.
Yeah,
it's weird. They cut it out. They basically operated so it would heal, drain, and all the rest of it. And yeah, ouch.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, it's only the second time in my life I've ever been in hospital, and the first time I was hit by a truck when I was much younger. So, yeah.
That's what's happened. Okay.
What? Knocked in the head.
Yeah. Yeah. So please, help us out with that algorithm. Like, subscribe, hit that bell. We are suffering from the hospital visit.
Yeah.
But yeah. Want to go the extra yard? There is Patreon, there is the YouTube membership, and there's always that $sign that you can always hit. So
it's happened before, and it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks to go back to where it was. But yeah.
Yep.
It'll be fine. But yeah. So thanks for everyone for joining us. Yeah, and I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. He's been Algared. I've been Execute.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here.
Catch you next one.